Yeah, man, let's rock it.
It says ready. It says ready. I think we're live. I think we're on. I might as well just say the date and the time, like right here. It's May 27th, 2022, 8:04 p.m. Eastern, 5:04 Pacific, out here in Santa Cruz, California. This is what Michael. What show are you watching here?
Hey, this is Michael Anthony right here, and you are watching exclusively Van Halen on the Johnny Bean TV. Keep it there. Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome. This is exclusively Van Halen,
Yeah.
the weekly EVH show. It's almost a daily show now. I'm doing these shows pretty much every day, sometimes all day. Who knows? This might be the 20-hour marathon finally. But hey, welcome everybody. And I already said the date and the time, so you guys know exactly where we are. And let's say hello first off to the executive producers, the top tier of channel members here on Johnny Bean TV, here on YouTube. They are, there we go, Dave Ennis, Vinyl Freak 5150, Mike Neese, Music Therapy Laz, Majestic PB&J Cat, Wayno, Stevo 5150, False Flag, Sherman Callahan, Andy Carson, Michael B, R-Habs, Warlag, The Chad, Lawrence Christensen, Lenny Lou and Mary, James Gum, John Moronic, Paul Martin Woods, Stephen Franklin, Fabulous Disaster, Michael Smith the Captain, Thomas Santiago, Joe Christian, Jim Ray Hawkins, David Allen Wright, and Steve Carmichael. That's where you say Steve Carmichael. Steve Carmichael. That's a top tier of channel membership here on Johnny Bean TV. If you'd like to become a channel member, click that join button right below the 21 thumbs ups. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. And if you'd like to help support the channel, support these shows, any super chats will change the color of the lights in the guitar moire right back here. It's very cool. It's the latest in guitar moire technology, whatever that means. I have no idea what that even is. But we're also live on, where is it? On Facebook. Johnny Bean TV Facebook page, where we have Facebook stars. A digital gift helps in the production of these shows. And speaking of Facebook, our favorite Facebook place, we're also live in my Van Halen Facebook group, exclusively Van Halen, just under 63,000 members. EVH Gear Live Facebook group and Facebook page, Johnny Bean TV Facebook group, and my personal page. Hi, Grandma. And if you want to call in, we'll take some calls. 415-952-3263. Make sure to connect with me on WhatsApp for just an easier experience. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Marty5150 is here.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Hey.
Hey. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Man. It's great to see you again. We actually did like a call a few days ago, last week or something.
Yeah,
and
on Sunday.
On Sunday, we did a 2-hour call on Sunday. That could have been the show. And you were just saying something before we started. You're like, we should have just recorded that and just play like
Right.
that. You'd be on the road right now. I'd be still in bed. You know.
Yeah, but you know what? Second time's a charm, right, man? Well,
Oh, this is great.
yeah.
This is awesome. This is
And
awesome.
I did save some nuggets that we didn't talk about Sunday. So
Right on.
yeah, we'll cover some stuff that we talked about, and I've got some hidden gems that.
Right on. That's
Yeah, man.
awesome. Awesomes.
Thanks for having me on, Johnny. Thank you. I've watched your channel a lot, and you know, I appreciate what you do for the community and the Van Halen word, and it's good to be on. So thank you.
Oh,
I appreciate
thank
that.
you. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I've been seeing your videos and really digging what you're doing. And actually, after we had already connected, like it's been like a couple weeks or something.
Yeah.
People started messaging me saying, Johnny, you know you got to get on the show. You got to get that guy Marty5150. And I'm like, haha, already did.
Beat you to it.
Beat you to it. Yep.
That's cool. That's cool, man. So I appreciate people approaching you about it. So here we are.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Here it is. Here
Hope
it
we don't
is.
disappoint.
Well, it's not Tuesday. But let's say hello to some people. We got some people in here. We have Mr. Mick. We have Joe Hervey 84. We have R2R3 Locking Nut. We have Mike Neese, Tim Thomas. We got Martin. Martin is here. Let's see.
I think that might be Claudier. Is that
Claudier?
Clautier? Is that French? Clautier?
I don't know. I don't know. Welcome, man.
He's got Mart sitting there. So I like your name, man. Martin. Your mama chose well.
Awesome. Yeah, we got some new names in here. This is great. We got Kurt Mc. Is it Mc? One thing you'll learn during today's show is I can't read. I can't read at all. A round of something. I don't know what that says, but thank you, man. No, I'm just kidding. Robot Master Switch is here. We got Nelson Rodriguez. We got Facebook user Johnny looking good. Thank you so much. Oh, Jeff. We got Jeff over on Facebook in one of the Facebook groups.
Cool.
We got Eduardo Marino Porto, longtime viewer of these shows. And let's see, we got James G. And everybody. Janice. The Axe was just watching your RDW video, Running with the Devil.
Yeah,
I think that is.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. We got me talking about Facebook stars, all that stuff. So hey, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for being here. We got some Symmetry. Hey. Welcome, Kevin Coachell. Welcome, you guys. And I probably should have said this a while back. If this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like Van Halen, this is Johnny Bean TV. This is the place you want to be, but you also want to check out Marty5150. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. I mean, look at these guitars.
I brought out the Arsenal today, Johnny. Hey, I wanted to say hi to my friend Brian. I saw him in the chat, and a longtime friend. I haven't seen him for years, but hey, Brian, thanks for joining in tonight.
Hey, welcome,
Thank
Brian.
you. Yeah.
Welcome, you guys.
BK Sword out.
I'm seeing a lot of new names here. This is great. Martin.
Nice.
He's very humble. Marty's lessons are the best. Dude.
Woo!
I also love his old magazine reviews.
Thank
and
you.
Yes, my last name is French Canadian. There you go.
There you go, man.
Right on. Look at this.
You know those magazine reviews that I do. There's I think his name is what's his name? Nielsen. First name can't think of. I want to say Brian Nielsen, but that's not it. he's got a Facebook or a YouTube channel where he does reviews of a bunch of Friedman stuff, and he's great. And he does a couple reviews of old guitar for the practicing musicians, and does a lot of John Sykes tablature stuff. And his magazine stuff is very brief. He does it very minimally, and I love it so much. I thought, there's nothing wrong with paying homage to something like that. And first couple ones that I did, I put his channel in the video. I wish I could think of his name. If anybody knows what I'm talking about in the chat, please put it in there. But his Nielsen, drawn a blank, guys. So anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to him and
Michael Nielsen.
Yeah, Michael Nielsen's a great guy.
Michael.
Yeah, he does them once in a while, and he's a great player and producer. Man, his stuff on John Sykes is spot on, man. So if you like Sykes, check out Michael Nielsen's page. So good guy.
Awesome. Very cool. And you never know who might be watching, because John Sykes actually liked my Facebook page at one point.
That's cool.
So he could be watching this right now.
But you know what? We're not going to talk about John tonight. We're going to talk about the King. We're talking about the King, right, Eddie?
Every Friday. Every Friday we talk about Van Halen here.
Johnny, I saw your show on OU812, and the fact that it's a anniversary of OU812. What is it? Is it 35 years? 30 years? What was it? I forgot.
34?
34? Gosh, I feel old.
Yeah.
And you had said that was your first Van Halen show that you went to as a kid, because you were too young to go to the other ones, right? And just couldn't. I
wasn't even a fan yet to go to the other ones. When I first got into Van Halen, well, technically I got into Van Halen and because of Back to the Future, because of the cool riff on the cassette tape.
Yeah.
And I bought my first Van Halen record was 5150 in 1986.
Yeah.
But I had no clue that, they put out a record and then they go out and they play shows. I didn't know there was concerts. I had the record, thought it was great.
Right.
Bought Live Without a Net on VHS tape.
Yeah.
And then it was after that I saw them.
Yeah, I saw them in 88 for that tour, 89 I believe it was, and I was a freshman at college. I saw them at Syracuse University. I didn't go to Syracuse, but I'm originally from upstate New York. I grew up near Ithaca and live in Nashville for most of my life. But I saw at the Syracuse Carrier Dome, saw Van Halen, and it was a great show. I mean, I couldn't see 5150 because I was too young, right? And it was at Syracuse again, but I bootlegged it on cassette. I brought a cassette recorder, and I've still got the bootleg of the OU812 show. I remember it sounded like so muffly between songs. The Carrier Dome is a horrible place to see a show, right? And it's just so boomy. And back in the 80s, they didn't have the technology. It was just bring all the amps, turn everything up on 10. And but Sammy sounded like between songs, and you'd hear and then and then you might make out and they had it on the big screen, and Eddie's hand was like 2 seconds behind the audio because it was such a big place and so echoey. But,
wow.
Yeah, but it's cool. I still have the OU812 tour shirt that I bought that day. And I should have bought the OU812 bootleg shirt that the university kids were selling because they were orange. It was for the Syracuse Orangemen, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they were selling those bootleg shirts, and they look so much cooler than the OU812 concert shirts. I was like, how's that possible? The Van Halen shirts weren't as cool as the Orangeman shirts, but probably those Syracuse shirts would have like washed out after like a week. That'd have been like Kleenex, right?
Put it in the washer and you go to dry it, and it's like, where'd it go? Yeah. Well, here's there's a newspaper from the show that I was at. I showed this the other day, and this is the Daily Nebraskan, November '88.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. There's a couple photos there from the my first Van Halen show. But dude, what's really cool about you saying that you bootleg the show is that there's not many OE812 shows, like live shows out there.
Yeah.
And if you didn't share that, if you haven't shared that, you're the only one with it. So
I know.
That's a good
Yeah. I should run it through my cassette deck and run it in the Pro Tools and clean it up a little bit, maybe EQ it and cut out all the parts in it where I'm yelling like, hey, like you hear me right next to the microphone because I'm bootlegging it. And later on you listen to it and you're like, that's pretty rough. But I remember Eddie doing some kind of chirping bird sound effect. And I posted that on one of my videos the other day. And someone mentioned that they're like, yeah, Eddie did that all the time. And I never remember Eddie doing chirps. Like I heard he did squeals and animal noises, but I remember on the OU812 tour specifically, it was like he was going, but it didn't sound like that. I mean, it legitimately sounded like, like a. He did all kinds of different chirps with it, and it sounded like they were in some kind of a bird sanctuary. But that was, and who knows, that might have just been some kind of. Modi was in for that week or that month. You know how Eddie would sometimes do something and he'd have a new gimmick or a trick that was cool and it was gone. It was on to something else.
He was always building. He was always building a collection of sounds and then you would hear some of that stuff during songs. In between. Before. Yeah. The chorus or maybe during a solo or something.
Yeah.
But specifically when he would do his standalone solo towards the end of the night.
Right.
You would hear all that stuff.
I think the nothing can prepare you for the first Van Halen show when the lights are about to go out and you hear something like that, and he's just like, and then he stops and everyone just screams. And then you hear another.
Yeah. Man.
And then your arm hair just raises up and then Alex just, and you hear that.
Yeah.
and then they just hit the song, they come out with whatever the opener was. And you're just like, holy crap, man. And then you're a fan for life. And nothing can duplicate that. You could listen back to the albums and they sound great, but you have that jonesing feeling in your soul where you're like, that next Van Halen show, you're just like waiting for it. There's that video of Eddie playing on Hollywood Boulevard before the Jimmy Fallon show, and you've probably seen
Jimmy
it.
Kimmel.
Yeah, and it's or the Jimmy Kimmel show. Sorry, and he's warm. They're warming up, and Eddie's just out on Hollywood Boulevard, just screaming harmonics, at like 2 p.m, and it's just like that's the sound. I think the guy in the video is like, holy. F. And I'm like, yeah, man. And that dude's probably seen the shows a dozen times like us, but it never. God, I miss it.
I know. And I'm actually, I guess I'm kind of lucky because I got to watch that performance live via Periscope, which is the old Twitter live app. I got to some guy was there, I guess, while they were filming, and he was just holding his phone up, and so I was like just sitting here, just watching the entire thing live as it was happening, before it was on TV that night.
Right.
Oh, and it was cool. It was really cool, and then you talking about going to a Van Halen show. Well, first of all, I'll tell you guys about my first show, November 5th, 1988, Bob Devaney Sports Center, Lincoln, Nebraska. I remember going to the merch booth and basically buying one of everything. Like everything I had, I bought, because I was a huge Van Halen collector back then for a lot of years, So I bought every T-shirt, but I would buy them in extra large, thinking that's better, Even though I couldn't wear them, I would just buy them. Maybe because the prints were bigger. The bigger the shirt, the bigger the print. And although I do remember buying a couple shirts my size that I would wear. There was one that said 0812 and it had the 4 band members, not their faces, but it had like live shots taken.
That's the one I got.
Rock.
Yeah,
the black one with the purple that said Van Halen. It like went down.
Yeah, that was the one I was disappointed in. I should have bought the Orangeman shirt. And that one shrunk on me, but I still.
And it said 0812 on the back. It had the world. It had the planet. It said 0812 across it.
Yep. And the tour dates, I think.
Yeah. Yep. That was a cool shirt. That was cool. But yeah, man. Yeah, I remember exactly sitting there, and I had the tour book. I was looking through the tour book, and the tour book. See, you guys that don't know, there was an 0812 tour after the Monsters of Rock tour. The Monsters of Rock was like the summer tour with Scorpions, Dokken, Kingdom Come, all those bands. But after that, they did a 45-day tour in the winter for 0812. Yeah, and the opening band was this band called Private Life, which was a band that actually Valerie Bertinelli discovered, and Edward and Ted Templeman were producing their record.
Yeah. I bought the cassette, man. I have that cassette somewhere.
It was called Shadows, I think.
I can't remember. It was all right. I mean, it was, but bad timing, kind of.
It was, well, I mean, the late 80s was kind of there was definitely music was changing by that point. By a couple of years later, all that stuff was gone.
Yeah.
But
I remember the album didn't really have any clinching like killer stuff. It kind of reminded me of who sang Black Velvet.
Alana Miles.
Alana Miles. It kind of reminded me of like something along that middle of the road, kind of not earthy, bluesy, but
she had that one hit though. Black Velvet. That was a huge.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying Private Life reminded me sort of like, that it was very commercial and rock based, but they just didn't have the hit, man. They didn't have that hit. But but they were good. They were a good band.
I thought they were good. I went out. I remember watching them open the show. And Sherman Callahan, thank you so much for all your support, man. Sherman Callahan, channel member here on Johnny Bean TV. I remember.
Johnny, I remember it being in the winter time that I didn't realize what you just said, that it was a tour after Monsters of Rock, but
yeah,
it was. I think it was December or January in upstate New York when I went to see them, and the weather did just about everything it could possibly do to prevent me from driving 2 hours to go see that show. And I drove from Binghamton to Syracuse, and it was, it was worth it. But we started early, and then after the show, it was even worse. We had to get back, but we didn't care. We just were so stoked about the show afterwards. It was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I remember going to a lot. It seems like all the metal shows I went to back in the day seemed like they were winter tours, like late summer and through the winter.
Yeah. There was a lot of bands I remember seeing back then. Kiss. I remember seeing Kiss with Winger. It was Winger, Kiss, and Vixen. I went to that, and I got to meet Winger earlier in the day. They did a record signing at one of the local record shops.
Yeah.
So I remember getting to meet them, and I gave Red Beach some of my guitar picks. I didn't ask him for his. I gave him mine. And he thought they were cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw every band, every C and B metal band of the 80s. Came through Binghamton, New York, where I grew up, and around Ithaca, Binghamton area. And the Broome County Arena had everybody from Kiss to Rat to Warrant, Poison, Dokken, Motley. Everybody came there, but Van Halen was too big. They came to Syracuse, which was a couple hours away, and so you had to see them in the Dome.
Mhm.
So, and if you went to see Prince, it had to be the Carrier Dome. If you went to see Madonna, it was the Carrier Dome. U2, it was the Carrier Dome. But if you wanted to see Faster Pussycat open for Ace Frehley and Rad, it was Broome County Arena. And it was $18 general admission. Get there early and get squeezed up against the railing. And I loved every second of it. Man, I saw David Lee Roth eat 'em and smile at there when they opened, or they played with Tesla. Tesla opened for
Oh, really?
Roth. Yeah, then I saw Skyscraper, and I was like, "Where's Billy Sheehan?" And then I saw a Little Lane Enough there, and it was like, where the whole band was different, man. But yeah, I saw Dave a lot there. But yeah, anyway, Van Halen, I had to go to the Carrier Dome. So back on the boys.
That's cool.
Back on
That's cool, man. Yeah.
Sorry
But
to
no,
digress
no.
on the metal stuff there, the old metal. But real quick, my first show at Broome County Arena was Twisted Sister. I saw them. I was really young. I saw them for Stay Hungry. That's really what it changed my life. Yeah, and they filmed the video for The Price at Broome County Arena that night. And that video, when you find it, that's the show I was at. And D. Snyder was
awesome.
They a lot of people laugh about Twisted Sister, but I will tell you that they were they destroyed us. And I'm sure I was really impressed because that was my first real show, but they were awesome. Twisted Sister in that era, that generation, were indestructible in the tri-state, upstate New York area. They were badass. That's all I'm gonna say. That's was cool. Yeah, it was really phenomenal. So good shows, good memories, man. I'm glad to be part of that generation. So anyways.
Yeah, it's wild, man, because a lot of the generation now that are into that type of music, it's like, man, I wish I was. They're all saying, I wish I was around then.
Right.
I wish I was.
Yeah, I mean, those were the days where Fractal didn't exist and Helix and stuff, and you went to see shows, man, and it was like 140 decibels, and
it was real.
It was real. You would feel it so much in your chest. I mean, it was almost like it would almost make you sore the next day. It was and deaf, man. It was. I mean, yeah, man. It was Cinderella. Saw Cinderella on the Heartbreak Station tour, and dude, I mean, that was a tour that should have been quiet because they had.
What year was that?
That was like 92, or no 90. I think 1990,
90?
maybe 91, 90. Yeah, it was early 90s, and they had a saxophone player on stage, and they had a couple backup singers. So they needed to be blended. They needed to have balance. And man, they peeled the paint off the wall. I was disappointed because, I mean, I thought Heartbreak Station was a great album, but it was bluesy. But it was there was no control to some of those shows back in those days. They would just turn it up. And but Van Halen never sounded that way. As many times as I've seen Van Halen play, Van Halen, I often describe it, especially during the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge era, in Balance, those eras when he was using the Music Man, and even I saw the Van Halen 3 tour, which was really good. I saw that in Nashville. I saw a lot of Van Halen shows in Nashville. It was like a warm wave of sound. It was really loud, but it just like enveloped you, and you felt like in your warm, cozy Van Halen nest. You're like, turn it up louder, please. But then, you might go the next week to something else and, see whoever. And you're like, holy smokes, man, it's shrill.
And it's a totally different thing. Yeah.
Totally different. Right. And so I never had that experience with Van Halen, even though they were super loud. I guess that's the the beauty of the Brown sound, right?
Mhm.
It's not piercing, it's warm, like it's a warm tone, and it's
Yeah.
serves its purpose.
Van Halen shows were always, always. I mean, for all the shows that I was at, I mean, always sounded great.
Right.
It was a great sound, but also I don't think So, I mean, some of that, can also have to do with when you see them on the tour, because when you're starting, when let's say you go to the first show, there's a huge difference between the first show and the last show. Huge difference as far as the sound,
Yeah.
the production,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
even the band with their stage show.
Right. Yeah, no, we're moving all over the place, but I guess that's okay. If you don't mind me,
Yeah.
you don't mind me taking like twists and turns and stuff,
Oh.
right?
throw them at me. I'm ready.
I'm new to this, man. I don't know how to run your how to work on your show. You run it, but I'm taking over. This is the Marty5150 show. This is my guest, Johnny Bean.
Thank you. It's great to be here, man.
Thanks for showing up tonight, man.
Hey.
So I saw the ill-fated 04 reunion, right?
I was there.
Yeah, and you were talking about how the first shows and the last shows, there's a difference, right? And,
yeah.
And I knew from the get-go, I'm like, this may not make it past like 5 shows. Like I just had this gut feeling because I'm like, I just don't have faith in this. And Eddie had not been doing too good, and some of the people in the chat may not even been around then or really young, but Eddie had a lot of demons, and it was sad that era. I think us Van Halen fans were in denial, but I saw the second show. I saw it in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The first show I think was Greensboro, right? I think Greensboro. Anyway,
John Bill. I don't know.
But yeah, it was
Not
Greensville
sure.
or Greensboro. It was Green something in South Carolina or North Carolina. And I went to the second show, and I'm like, well, it's kind of weird to go from the Carolinas to Hershey. So I guess just to fast forward, I mean, I bought the I Love All Access pass.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and the I Love All Access pass, I think was $400 or $475. It was cheap. And nowadays you can't even get a t-shirt and like a front row seat for under $1,200 or something for like a lot of bands. But the I Love All Access pass included a seat in the front or second row, guaranteed. They fed you. There was an open bar. They gave away gifts. You got a laminate. You got a free t-shirt. You got to go to sound check. The only thing you had to do was get there. And we got to Hershey at like overnight. We were there. We stayed the night. And the next day we showed up at the park, and they let us in about noon, 1 o'clock. And Sam wasn't on the stage. It was just the boys sound checking. And they sounded great. I mean, they were really, it even had a good sound. But, Eddie wasn't playing his best. I'm not going to try to bring anybody into a downer situation. I mean, he played great, but I think as the night went on, he was drinking a lot, right? But Eddie had a couple bottles of Smokin' Loon wine on the stage at all times, and his hair pulled up like a samurai, and he had his cell phone under his neck his whole time. And
during the sound check?
During the sound check, he was walking around sound checking with his phone, and then he'd put his phone down on his amp and he'd do something, then he would do this, and they sound checked a bunch of they sound checked everything instrumentally because Mike or Sammy wasn't there. And I asked, we were close enough where we could talk to him, and I asked Michael Anthony where Sammy Hagar was, and he said, he's back at the hotel sleeping. He doesn't do sound checks. I was like, oh. And then I yelled something to Alex, and Eddie said, Al can't hear you. He's deaf. And then Eddie was like, what do you guys want to hear? And so we yelled out like Romeo Delight or something. And he started playing it. And then Mikey's like, I forgot it. And they were laughing because they had practiced that stuff. So we were like throwing them stuff. And Yeah,
Oh man,
and then
that's awesome.
they got down on the ground where between the barrier and the stage, and they were all civil. And Alex gave away his drumsticks from sound check, and Michael Anthony's bass tech came out, and he must have gave away like 4,000 guitar picks. Man, Michael Anthony's tech is like the coolest dude.
Dugan?
Yeah, and Mikey gave away his picks, and there was a kid who was there with his dad. This kid was like 7 years old maybe, and he had painted a painting of Eddie, like a big 36-inch by 24-inch painting. It was framed, and he gave it to Eddie, and Eddie was like almost started to cry, and he looked at the painting, and he goes, Eddie said, "Man," he goes, "everybody always wants something from me and never gives me anything." And he wasn't being a jerk. He was just, it was like everyone's always pulling at me kind of thing. It was like a real statement, but I mean, it could be misinterpreted, but he didn't mean it like a jerk. And he's like, he goes, "I'm really touched." And it really touched him deep. You could tell. And Eddie like turned around. He's like looking for something to give this kid and his dad. And he gave him an empty bottle of smoking. So the dad was like, "Cool." But I mean, think about it, man. He got the Smoke and Loon bottle, right? And
I'll take it.
Honest to God, it's a true story, man. We were supposed to be able to go on stage and look at their gear, but they canceled that. They didn't let us do that for some reason, but they brought us backstage, and they showed us where they showed us their garments, where they get their garments fixed. We met the garment fixing lady, and we got to go in their sound check. We got to go in their sound check rooms, and the person showing us all that stuff, I said, "Why don't they stay in the same rooms?" Or why don't they warm up in the same rooms together? And he looked at me like, "What are you, new?" And it's like, okay, yeah, they don't like each other. Like Sammy and Mike have their own room, and Eddie and Al got their own room, and it was just across the hallway in the trailer. And dude, they gave away a signed drum, like a bass drum, and
the drum heads.
Yeah, they gave away those, and they gave away more shirts, and I got front row right in front of Mike, and Michael was handing me picks during the night. He recognized you from sound check, and Eddie had Sharpie marks on the back of his guitar neck to show where to play like the Dream solo and stuff like that. He had like the back of his Wolfgang neck had Sharpie all over the back of it, like lines, so he could see his frets.
That's true. I remember seeing. Actually, it was for the first show. I think CNN was at the very first show, and they actually did a segment. And during that segment, Eddie is talking to me, shows the back of his guitar, and there was Sharpie lines on the back,
right
of all the frets.
Yeah, and I mean, it was great. I went and saw him later on that tour, and I saw him in Cincinnati, and I saw him in Louisville, and they were awesome in Cincinnati and Louisville. They were really, really good, and they were. It was later on in the tour, so but I know there was hit and miss nights on that tour, and the last thing I'll say, I just got to get this off my chest, is and don't hate me, anybody, for this. Don't unsubscribe to my channel. But
Hang on.
I really, this is all me. No, this isn't controversial, but I really think that Wolfgang deserves a lot of credit. Whatever you think about Wolfgang, I know his interactions with the fan base and stuff can be, some people take it the wrong way, but Eddie was in a really bad place mentally and emotionally. I mean, he had tongue cancer in the late 90s, and we found out about it during Van Halen 3, and we know Eddie was a nervous guy. He is from interviews, Eddie was very, he always said it didn't bother him, and it didn't worry. He didn't worry about competition, but he was always, image meant a lot. He drank a lot to kind of numb himself from the pressures of being himself. And he was going through his divorce. He had his hips replaced. He was dealing with cancer. He lost his singer, Sammy Hagar. He had an album that people didn't like with 3. he had a failed reunion with David Lee Roth. His substance abuse leaked back in. And I mean, I'm not making excuses for the guy, but he went through, I mean, divorce alone will do that to you. And carrying that kind of baggage and being a celebrity must be a tremendous amount of pressure, especially when that's all you know and that's all you do. And that's your true love. That's your true passion and your true existence, meaning for life. And back to Wolfgang, as he came of age, Wolfgang didn't take Michael Anthony's job. Wolfgang got Van Halen back together. I mean, Eddie wasn't doing anything, man. Eddie was not doing a thing. And I love Mikey and Sam. They had to go do their own thing. And I can see why that would have hurt Eddie's ego and damaged him psychologically a little bit. But Wolfgang drug Eddie out of that pit. It was like, Dad, you need to play these songs. He did it for Wolfgang. So, I mean, Wolfgang was never trying to replace anybody. If you read the stories and if the stories are true, I can only go by what I've read, and they seem to be very consistent. And it sucks. I mean, it sucks that things didn't work out with the original members. I would love that, right? But we would never have had those tours if it weren't for Wolfgang. And he came up with the set lists. Yeah, and Wolfgang's a talent. And, we got a lot more out of Eddie. We even got an album out of it. He was really heavily involved in that. So hopefully Wolfgang will do the right thing and help bring that legacy to life and let us hear those songs they recorded that they never used, because we know they're there. But there's got to be hours and hours of stuff. And if Eddie's was anything like me, it's probably as unorganized as it could possibly be. So someone's physically got to go through that crap, man. Not that it's crap, but someone's got to sit there and go, oh, what's on this reel? And then it's like 18 hours worth of stuff and sit through it.
There's a lot. There's a whole wall at 5150 there with all these tapes. And the thing is, those tapes, they have to be baked in an oven to be able to function.
Right, because they're crispy and they'll get ruined. But, even more importantly, man, it's like someone's got to sit there and listen to it. You just can't say to an intern, go through these reels and see what you find. You got to have Wolfgang in there, or Alex, or, heck, I'll do it. Or some of you in this chat, let's get a petition going. We will go out there and we know what we're looking for. We don't want somebody in there going, this sounds like a song they should have recorded. And
the thing is, anything I would hear on those tapes, I would love all of it. It would all be awesome.
But you gotta kind of edit that stuff down, right? I mean, there's got to be eras and sections, but I mean, it would be. I love listening to those 1984 rehearsal tapes that leaked a while back, where you hear Eddie and Al just working on for 30 minutes, working on like the Girl Gone Bad lick.
Oh, right.
And you're like, dude, man, they legitimately sat there for 30 minutes working on this phrase. Because that's all they did, man. That's what they weren't like thinking. Are you almost done with this lick, man? It's like, nah, man, let's vibe on this. And then Don was lucky enough to go, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's put the mic. Can you guys cut it? And then lightning in a bottle, man. But I'd love to go back and listen to, the 5150 stuff. I wish Mick Jones did interviews and would talk about, what was it like?
He has. He has, but not to that extent, I don't think.
Yeah, he talks about himself, man, and like what he did to get the sound. It's like, no, dude, I want to know how much peanut butter did Eddie put on his sandwich for lunch before he plugged in to the plexi, and what did he eat for breakfast? And tell me, how close is the bathroom to the rehearsal area? And did you?
We actually have
Yeah.
a layout.
Yeah,
In a magazine, we actually looked at it. And by the way, Liquid Charlie, great to see you, man. He says he enjoys your channel. Do you know Liquid Charlie?
Yeah, man. Thanks,
Charlie's
dude.
awesome.
Dude, I love your channel. That means a lot coming from you. Man, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I dig your tone, man, and it's awesome. So thanks, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, seriously, there is a layout. It was in some recording magazine back in, I don't know, 85 or something, where it actually has the whole layout of the studio. Like we were looking at it one Saturday night on one of the shows.
Yeah.
So we could actually, it would actually tell you where the bathroom was and where the kitchen was and all that, you know.
But I mean, I nerd out on all that kind of stuff. And there's my cat. I told you he was going to make an appearance.
There you go.
His name's Rufus. Rufus, what are you doing?
Rufus.
I'm going to tell you a story about him real quick. It's hilarious, but I'll finish my thought on the Mick Jones stuff. I mean, Mick being a guitar player, and for those that you don't know, I mean, he was with Foreigner. Like you're all probably like, duh, we know that. But
well, there was also a Mick Jones with the Sex Pistols as well.
That's true. Yeah, it wasn't that guy. And I mean, I would really like to hear, how Eddie came up with his decisions on some of his guitar choices, because Eddie really got creative on all his records. And a lot of people think he just used this guy on his records, and he didn't. He would use 12 strings, and he would use, Flying V's, and he would use Steinberger guitar.
Everything but that guitar. That was like his live guitar.
Right. I think he did probably use it a little bit here and there early on, maybe, but
early on, yeah.
I'd like to know, what, but I mean, it's probably some of that stuff's probably out there, but anyway, I was going to tell you, my cat makes an appearance in my videos because I have this is a guitar related story, but I've got 2 dogs, right? And dogs can't be around cat food because they'll eat the cat food, right? So I've got you can't see it on camera, but I've got here's my Egnator. My Egnator stack. I can't right here. Yeah. Well, there's a crevice like in between the Egnator and the Husing Kettner that's about this wide, and the cat crawls through there, and I've got his cat food self-feeding bowl like behind my stacks. So he has to crawl through like a little cat food tunnel behind the amplifiers, and my dogs can't get to it because it's behind the amps. Yeah. So anytime I'm shooting videos and my cat like walks through and he like goes towards the amps, it's because he's eating and he's a fat boy. Yeah, he's got it. It's always lunchtime for Roof Dog, man. He doesn't care if I'm shooting videos or not. He's like, son, I'm getting some food.
Just follow the trail of ants.
Thankfully, no ants. That might be a concern later. But yeah, I've got cat food behind my amps.
That's the tone. That's the secret to the tone is the cat food.
Yeah, tender centers, man.
Tender, yeah. Purina. The Purina pickup in that guitar.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. So, I was going to tell you another thing, Van Halen related. I live in Nashville, and I've owned, for those of you that have seen my channel, I've got an Ernie Ball Music Man, a red one, and I've got one that's a natural color. And I used to have a black patent pending Wolfgang.
Oh, cool.
Like the real, the PV Wolfgangs, the first ones that came out. And I brought the PV Wolfgang and the red Ernie Ball to a gig in 2002 to a show in Nashville I had an original band at the time, one of my original bands. And about midnight, this dude walks up to me when I'm tearing down in this dark, dingy garbage club called Rich and Amy's Roadhouse on Dixon Pike. Man, this place was a dump. But hey, it was a paying gig, right? So midnight, I'm sitting there, and this dude walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, what do you like better, the Music Man or the PV?" And I like the Music Man better. Nothing against people that own the PV, but the Music Man is, to me, it's a better guitar. And I said, "Man, Music Man, hands down." He's like, "Yeah, dude, that's the guitar right there. It's the better one." And I looked at him and I said, and I recognized him. And he had the little Van Halen gold chain around his neck, like the logo. And I said, "You're Zeke Clark." And he's like, he kind of like looked at me like, "How do you know?" And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking because I'm crazy and I read like every magazine. I've kept them all, and I've seen like interviews with you, and I've seen you on stage before, like for the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, and I yelled your name, and you looked around, but it was Zeke, right? Him and his curly hair, and he was really starstruck. And his brother was with him, and his brother was really toasty at the time. Zeke was pretty toasty too. And he says, "Hey man, how'd you like to play the real thing?" And I was like,
Whoa.
"What do you mean?" "Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you mean?" "Yeah, I do. What are you talking about, man?" And he's like, "Tear down, man. You can follow me back to my house." And I'm like, all right. So he lived about maybe 5 or 6 miles from this place. And he had recently moved to Nashville because I guess he lost his gig with Eddie, probably because all that stuff was going down. You know, we talked about earlier the 04 tour. And
When was
Eddie
this?
This was like 2001, maybe 2002. 2000. It was early 2001 probably. And and he said he was teching for George Strait. He moved to Nashville. He wasn't working with Eddie. And now that I know, I look back and I go, oh yeah, Eddie was going through substance problems, and Van Halen 3 tanked, and he's in a bad spot. You know, it's before the reunion. So I know all that now, but I guess that's why Zeke left. Maybe he had a falling out. Who knows? I never really read into that. And I followed Zeke. Zeke was driving a Jaguar, and you know, it's like I felt like I was following Batman through like the back hills of like a suburb of Nashville. And we get down to his house, and his garage door opens up, and he pulls in, and I'm thinking to myself, this, I could be like killed and no one would even know.
But I'd be killed by
right.
Zeke Clark, and it'd be awesome.
But I'm like, it's Zeke Clark, it's safe, but this is really crazy, and I really don't care. And this is before, you know, you really had a lot of messaging capabilities on cell phones and stuff, and I couldn't really call or text anybody to tell them what I was doing.
You were dropping marshmallows on the way there, right?
I know, right? And I was in a part of town I really didn't know how to get out of, and I didn't have like Google Maps. You had like MapQuest. You had to print out on a printer to get to like your.
Oh, I hated that. You'd have to drive around with all these sheets of paper.
Yeah,
that was awful.
Basically, when you're outside of Nashville, you just kind of look for the skyline. When you finally see the skyline, you just kind of follow like yourself till you get back to familiar territory. But so I go into his garage, and I like see all these like platinum records hanging up his stairs to go up to his house, like Led Zeppelin platinum records. I don't know how he got Zeppelin platinum records. I didn't think he was that old to work on Led Zeppelin records, but you know, maybe he got them through association, through like maybe remastering, or who knows. But
I get gifting. A lot of times they'll gift those things to people. Maybe he was teching for somebody.
Yeah.
At one point they got them, you know.
And he had them all, dude. And he had like Prince platinum records, and we walk upstairs. This place is pretty nice, man. And I walk upstairs, and he's got a Les Paul in a picture frame, like a real Les Paul custom. And it says Mary Ford on the frets, like in pearloid, right, inlays. And it has a letter on it written to somebody. And he got that Les Paul. It was Mary Ford's Les Paul. And
man.
And then I like go in his living room where his big screen was, which was like 6 feet deep, because back then big screen TVs took up like, they're the size of an elephant. Yeah. So he plops me down in front of his big screen TV, and we put in Live Without a Net on VHS. And there's a Prince guitar there, a yellow Prince guitar with a cymbal and a Kaler. And there's a I Can't Drive 55 Washburn. And Zeke making all this racket in the other rooms. I go to check on him, and he's got these 2 bedrooms with these princess beds, these big, tall. You know what a princess bed is, right?
No.
Princess beds are like, you got to like pole vault to get on top of them. They're like 36 inches high, and they got all this space underneath them. Well, he's got like stacks of guitar cases under these princess beds, and he pulls out all these cases, man. And they're the 5150 tour guitars, man. And
oh my gosh.
And he opens them up. He's like, "Which one you want to try, dude?" And I'm like, that one. You know, I picked the one with the most cigarette burns on it. And and he's like, I got 16 of these, or I got 15 of these, man. He goes, we made 16 for the 5150 tour, but one got stolen in Miami when we went to eat dinner. We left it in Eddie's sanctuary, the little square thing where he goes, we came back and one was gone, but I got 15.
Oh my gosh.
And
15 150s?
15, 51, 15, 5150s. Right. And dude, they were
oh my gosh.
They were killer, dude. We sat down on his couch and those whammy bars were like, they were so like, this is a Floyd 1000. There's no play in this at all. Those whammy bars were so jiggly. The action was kind of high. Wasn't like bad high, but it was kind of high up, you know. And some of them were really well used and some weren't. And I mean, I was playing like at the time I didn't know how to play some of the riffs correctly. And he's like, man, you're really good. He goes, you play the songs differently than Eddie plays. He goes, he plays like I used to play 5150 down here. I used to go, whoops. Like that, you know, I used to play it down in this position. And Zeke was like, nah, man, he does it up here somewhere. And Zeke could kind of play. And so I realized it was, but anyway, Zeke's comment was, you're playing the songs, they sound right, but you're playing them wrong. and so that made me realize, I'm like, okay, I gotta like study these a little bit better. But it was cool, man. He gave me a 5150 pick. He showed me all these pictures of him and Valerie and Ed sitting at the house, and he lived in the guest house at the time. This is probably before they rebuilt a house in the studio, right? Obviously. And
there's probably 80. I don't even know.
It was all through the 80s, like mid 80s to late 80s, up until about 91, I think, because he was on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge Right Here, Right Now tour.
He joined them. He came along with Sammy Hagar.
Oh, okay.
So he joined 86. So he was there for 86, 88.
Yeah. And he said him and Ed were best friends. He says, dude, I talked to him about the guitar pickups, and the guitars sounded, some of them sounded a little different. And he's like, me and Eddie wound these pickups together. Like he wound pickups for Ed. And I don't know if he was telling me a story or if that's true, but he said him and Eddie would, not that Eddie would wind the pickups, but he would like change the windings of the pickups and as many raps as, and, you know, and finally get it where Eddie was like, I like that. And
I could see him winding pickups for him. I mean,
yeah, you know, and I asked him, I was like, well, he had all these, he didn't have all the 5150s there. He only had like 8 of them. And he said that in the 90s, when he used to live in LA, and the big earthquake destroyed his house, that it crushed everything.
Oh, no.
And there was like a tunnel that he could crawl underneath and get his stuff, but it was against the law to like salvage anything because they were going to declare it like a national disaster, right? And you were forbidden to go back and get stuff because you're going to get like a check or something, the way I understand it. And the story he told me is he went back at like 2 a.m. and left his door open of his car and kind of crawled through this debris tunnel and would go get stuff, guitars, and stick it in his car, in his platinum records, his mountain bike. And then he'd go back to his house or his apartment where he was staying. And then he'd come back and get it because he's like, people were going to loot the stuff. And he's like, there's no way insurance was going to cover him for the value of what those guitars were worth, right? So he's like, I had to save them. And like I said, he had the Prince guitar, the Washburn. He had all those platinum records. He had
15 150s.
He had 15 of them, dude. And then he's like, he goes, I gave him, he goes, I got the other ones at my mom's house in Texas. He's like, that way, if something happens here, I don't have all my eggs in one basket. And I left at 5 a.m. The sun was coming up. And he's like, hey, dude, don't tell anybody where I live, all right? And I was like, yeah, man, I won't. But truth be known, I was like, I don't know where I'm at. Like I don't know where
You're
I
like,
mean,
can you drive me up to the corner?
right. So it's like I don't even know. Like I know approximately like the side of the town where he's at. He probably doesn't live there anymore. And you know, I'm gonna wrap this story up with like a kind of a good closure. But my friend Dion, who made my 4 paint scheme guitar, my friend Dion, he's my good buddy Dion Edge, right? Dion, I think Dion works with Chip Ellis at EVH now for customizing EVHs, but Dion worked for years with Gibson, and Dion is like awesome. He's like a great builder, and he gives me great deals on pickups and stuff. But Dion, I told Dion, I was like, dude, I met Z Clark and I played the 5150s, and he didn't believe me, man. I went on like the VH forums and like people were ragging on me, telling me like I was
never
full of
tell
crap.
stories on those things because nobody will believe you, and
I
all
know.
they'll do is give you crap. That's
I know.
Yeah.
And they were asking me questions, and I like knew the answers, and so I just dropped it. I'm like, I don't care. I know the story, and Dion really kind of didn't believe me. Like I still think he believed me, man. And then he was still working at Gibson at the time. He hasn't worked for Gibson for about 3 years, but Dion gives me a call this is like maybe like 4 years after that, 3 years after that. I hadn't really heard from him, and he's like, man, you'll never guess who walked in the shop today. And I'm like, who? He's like, Z Clark. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned. I'm like, do you believe me now, man? He's like, yeah. And he goes, he was giving me the evil eye. And I said, why? He goes, because Dion would like, after hours, he'd work on his Van Halen stripe guitars. And back in those days, you couldn't buy that stuff. It was before EVH gear came out, right before EVH, right? Which is like 06 or something. And, you know, I guess they were starting to patent all the stripes. I mean, you couldn't put anything with stripes on it on eBay, nothing. The lawyers would strike you down. And,
you can't do any of that now, especially nowadays.
Yeah. And that's when it started.
No-no.
Yeah. And that's when it started to hit. Right. And, but no one really knew. And I mean, heck, the internet really wasn't even that big back in the early 2000s, but it was kind of getting there. But he was working on a striped guitar, and Zeke was kind of like, yeah, it's all right. You know, he kind of like, he got mad, you know, because he didn't like he kind of felt like, you know, he was infringing on Eddie, which I can understand the loyalty. But long story short, I think Zeke and Dion are buddies now. So, I mean, when you work for Gibson and you're in a pretty good position like that, you meet people. Now he techs for Guitar Center in Nashville, but he's really good there. You meet everybody. I mean, Dion got to meet Slash and tech for Slash when he did like those photo shoots at Gibson.
Wow.
Yeah, I know we're digressing, but Dion told me that Slash was the only person ever allowed to smoke in the Gibson guitar factory. Like he showed up one night to do a photo shoot with some Gibsons, some Les Pauls. This is about 8 years ago. And Dion was in the bathroom, and he hung out after work because they needed a guy to tech for Slash. If he needed like a chord or, you know, whatever, you know, and they needed a guitar guy. And Dion was like in the bathroom, and Slash was like, man, you know where I can find an ashtray? and Dion was like, you know, you don't smoke at Gibson, but he's like, yeah, man, hang on a minute. So he like went and got like a can or something, and they set it down, and he said that no one said a word to him. And like for like 2 hours, Slash was working on like Slash's Snake Pit riffs and stuff like that. And he was showing Dion some like, check out this riff. And so anyway, that kind of went all over the place. I hope y'all are enjoying these tall tales of
very cool stuff.
But this is my 4 paint scheme guitar. This is the one that Dion built for me.
Wait, so that's the one, like we would see pictures all over Facebook. I mean, is that guitar?
You know, dude, I don't know. There's probably other people that have done this. But maybe so. I posted it before, and it may have, someone might have grabbed it and put it somewhere. The back of it looks like this. And
man,
there's a guitar player named Johnny Halen in Nashville. Is a blind guy. This was his Floyd Rose. And Steve Vai actually said this was one of the best Floyd Roses he's ever played. I got a couple Steve Vai stories, but we don't have to talk about that. Maybe later. But this is a great guitar, man. I mean, it's not a Beretta because it doesn't have the angled pickup in it. So it's kind of like a 5150 Beretta because it's got a Beretta. I think this is a Beretta headstock, right? It's got a Beretta truss rod cover, but it's got a JB in it and a Floyd Rose. I guess it's a 1000. Did Floyd Rose 1000s exist 20 years ago? Or 18 years ago?
Maybe. So did you ask for that, like for that painting the way that is, or?
I did not. I lucked into this. Back in those days, Dion would sell guitars pretty affordably. You know, $1,200-$1,300. Sorry to drop numbers if you're listening, Dion, or if you hear this later. I think I paid 15 bones for this, which was kind of high. For, you know, that's a lot of money for any guitar. But I was playing in a metal band called White Leopard Crew, which was in Atlanta, and we did hair metal. And Dion knew I did that. And I also did Slippery When Wet, the ultimate Bon Jovi tribute band in Atlanta. I did that for many years. And I needed guitars to do that tribute show, which was a lot like Steel Panther. Mm-hmm. And Jason knew Ralph and Steel Panther, and kind of stole that idea when Steel Panther was called Metal School. They were called Metal Shop, then they went to Metal School, and they had to change their name. You know, they changed it a lot back then when we were talking to them. And we were White Leopard Crew. So Dion was like, dude, I got this guitar for you. And he's like, it's all 4 paint schemes, man. I'm like, that's pretty neat. So I drove over to his house and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. But I had, I originally, like 2 years prior to that, I told Dion I wanted a Frankenstein, and he built me this Frankenstein, and it's got the beak neck on it. And this was done before you could there weren't like a lot of really good pictures of his stuff online. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty close. It's kind of thin. I don't know what body style this is. And it's not, this was early when he started, it was early when he started doing these. So this isn't, I'm not knocking it. I mean, it's a great guitar, but it's not anything like something you put out today. The attention to detail. I mean, the pickup's not mounted to the body, and it's not angled, but this is supposed to be like the 1984 Kramer that you see with the beak neck.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, you really don't see very many of the 84 era. 83, well, technically 83, 84.
Yeah.
85.
He screwed a quarter on it, you know, and I see a lot of guys talking. I'll bring it closer to the computer. But, you know, a lot of guys take that quarter. See the quarter on there? Mm-hmm. They you know, and I don't know, man. Maybe Eddie put it like up higher at some point, but originally Eddie stuck the quarter under the Floyd because the Floyd was floating and he wanted to touch the body, so he couldn't pull up on it. The guitar would go out of tune. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like a Rolling Stone interview or something where he was screwing that quarter into the body, and I think they were going to interview Black Sabbath or something, but Eddie was available. I could be getting my stories wrong, but it's something similar to that. But Eddie put the quarter under the Floyd Rose to keep it from bending sharp. Yeah. So I see these guitars though that people make, and I've seen some of Eddie's guitars with a quarter away from the Floyd. So I'm like, what's the deal with that, man? Was that just a good luck charm at that point? Or was that another Frankenstein?
That's another one. On the original Frankenstein, he had the quarter on there to keep the bridge flush, and then once it was set up correctly and didn't need it anymore, he just scooted it over and drilled it down. So it's still on the guitar, but there actually were other Frankenstein guitars that were built for him that had quarters on them as well that were just like drilled in. They had no actual function. It was just for looks.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I've searched for that stuff, man. It's so hard to find things on Google now. There's so much bloat and so much garbage that when you try to like look up the real stuff, all you get is like advertisements. You try to research this stuff, and it's like all these reverb listings of people trying to sell you the guitar. It's like, I just want to find out, where did the quarter come from, man? I'm not trying to buy something from Music Zoo in Colorado or a D-Tuna, or I don't want to buy your quarter you've pre-drilled for $10 for this guitar. I want to know that
somebody sent me one. Thank you again. Let me just say hello to Alan. Our friend Alan Garber is here. He says Tom Anderson repaired the Frankenstein and the quarter was moved out of the way.
Oh.
My friend, my buddy is the one that actually did that repair, and he actually lives just a couple hours away, and we're planning on doing a show at some point from his place. But he has the real story about the quarter and the Frankenstein and and the Tom Anderson neck and all that.
I totally nerd out about that stuff, man. It's really interesting.
It's awesome, huh?
Yeah, I meant to bring this up to you the other day when we were talking. But if anybody, I don't know if anybody's bought the Dweezil Zappa package, the 5150 package for his podcast. Have you heard about it, Johnny?
I know of his podcast, and actually we had a guest on the show a few weeks ago who's actually good friends with Dweezil.
Yeah,
and actually has worked with him for years and years and years and years.
Well, I will honestly tell you, I mean, it takes forever for him to put out episodes, but in a way that's good, because if you just binge listen to them, then you'd be done with the fun in like a week or less. But now there's about 12 episodes out of it. And man, I'm not trying to sell his podcast, but it's $51.50. And the interviews are super long, but you can buy them individually for like $2.99 each. But there's the Blue Saraceno one is hysterical. They talk about the Women and Children First tour that he went to see, and Nuno Betancourt. Nuno does a double episode about Women and Children First. The Paul Gilbert one's cool.
Hey, perfect timing.
I know, right?
There it is.
But I mean, Dweezil is a total like nerd like us, probably worse, and he talks about all kinds of little nuances that you hear. They go track by track, album by album, and the guest of the show gives their take on what's going on and what they felt like. Like, what was the first thing you did where were you when you heard Mean Street? What did you think? And does anybody ever play that riff right? And they're like, no, we always choke on it. But it's really fun, and he puts a lot of love and effort into it. So if anybody wants to look for it, I'm not trying to pitch something, but it's a great resource for Van Halen. He got a lot of flack about it when it came out because it was right after Eddie passed. He had plans to put it out prior to that. It was just kind of bad timing. It looked like he was trying to grab money, I think, during COVID. It just looked, I think it kind of looked that way, but it's not like that. I doubt he makes really anything much off that. It's really a labor of love. So, but now if you get into it, you download them, you don't have to wait like 3 months for each episode to come out. There's already a dozen of them in there. So they just did a Joe Satriani double interview on For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. So Balance is up next with somebody, I forget who. So it's cool, man.
That's I'm gonna have to now that I really haven't heard any of them. I kind of doing these shows, and I run a pretty big Van Halen Facebook group and Instagram and everything. So I hear about the stuff. People are always telling me this stuff.
Yeah. It's
so
good.
I get the cliff notes on a lot of these things, but I'm definitely gonna have to listen to some of that.
Yeah, if you go onto the Apple podcast or wherever you get podcasts, you can download like the Dweezil Zappa app, and you get like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the interview, and then they stop it, and Dweezil comes on like, "Hey, if you'd like to hear the rest of the interview, go to dweezilzappa.com." You got to go and do the whole password and sign up and download it. you can't get it on a podcast. You gotta go there to get it. But you can check them out. That way you can at least kind of see it for free. And
that's a good idea. I'm getting some ideas here.
yeah, y'all treat yourself this Memorial Day weekend and nerd out on the Nuno. The Nuno ones are funny, are good. The Blue Saraceno one is hysterical. He talks about his parents bringing him to his first concert in a paper bag so they wouldn't have to pay for his ticket. And Dweezil's like, you went to your first concert in a paper bag? And they had to stop. Like, they laughed like for 5 minutes.
How small was he?
I don't know, man. He was like in third grade or something. Like, I mean, Dweezil asked all these questions like you're asking now. Like I need to know more about
how tall were. I met him. I met Blue Saraceno when I was a kid because he was doing a clinic for Ibanez. I think it was Washburn. It was What was it? Well, he had a Washburn. Maybe it was Washburn because I think it's for Ibanez, and later on he went to Washburn or something.
I don't know.
I remember going to the clinic and him running out on stage playing the guitar and just like. There was like balloons or something. He was like popping balloons, jumping around. And then I remember at the end, I got like an autographed. I have his autograph still. And this was back in 1990.
Yeah.
But I remember running into him in the parking lot as we were leaving. Like him and like maybe his dad or whoever was with him. They were leaving at the same time myself and my dad were leaving. So I got to, say bye to him as he was leaving.
That's cool. That's cool, man. But he went to his first concert in a paper bag. But it's so funny. You feel like you're just hanging with like dudes, buddies. And I started laughing, man. It was but there's good, they talk about a lot of stuff on there, but they always get back to topic. They circle around a little bit. Nuno tells a good story about getting invited to a Van Halen rehearsal and them not telling them that's what they're going to do, and they walk in the back of this rehearsal room, and it was Van Halen rehearsing for one of their reunion tours, and he walked in the back door and he was like, it was right behind Eddie's amp. And it was like super loud. He was like, I didn't expect this. And then, he got to talk to Eddie.
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty cool stories in there about that stuff. Billy Corgan does one. Steve Vai, a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Batten does one. Hers is kind of weird. But
I tried to get her on this show one time. Actually, I met her at the same place, the same venue where I met Blue Saraceno. There was this one place in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was called the Cornhusker. It was some bar, and that's where they had all the local music store, Dietz Music, had all these clinics. So I met Jennifer Batten, I met Blue Saraceno, I met Jeff Watson from Night Ranger, and I've got a crazy story about him. But anyway, Jennifer Batten was doing some of these types of shows like a few years ago. So I got in touch with her saying, "Hey, I'd like to invite you onto my show." But she's like, I'm really burned out on doing these shows. I really don't want to do them anymore.
Yeah.
And then she started doing her own show.
Yeah. Well, that's different, when you're in control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, so anyway, I just promoted Dweezil Zappa, man.
Hey, that's all good, man. That's all good. I'm gonna have to listen to those.
But he's a plethora of Van Halen knowledge because I mean his dad had the hookup and invited Eddie over to his house, and Eddie produced Dweezil's album, and Eddie plays guitar on a couple things on there, like a couple notes. I think he plays bass
on a Dweezil.
The
first I have it. The first Dweezil single.
Yeah,
was called in the chat. What was it called? The B side was called it's called My Mother's a Space Cadet.
Yeah.
B side is called Crunchy Water. Eddie produced the 45, but Eddie played the intro to the song. The intro is a slide guitar part, and that's it.
Yeah, he talks about that. Yep. Yeah, and if Dweezil couldn't execute something, he would show Dweezil's like, "Hey, play it like this. Try this." He was a really hands-on producer. And Dweezil actually was doing Running with the Devil at a talent show before he got to do his album, and Eddie showed up at his high school, and he was like, "You're playing it wrong. You know, you got to play it like this because I want you to do good." And then Eddie went back home and brought him his guitar, and he gave Dweezil his guitar, and Dweezil still has that guitar that Eddie gave him for the talent show. So,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
talk about, you know, spoiled royalty kids in the California. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, your
Octopus Moon Unit was on that song too. She sang. She was actually the singer, one of the singers.
Yeah. What about Amit? Amit's a great singer, man. I think they all hate each other now, don't they? There's a big falling out between Dweezil and his
maybe
brother.
Yeah, I
think
know.
maybe they patched it up now, but anyways, it doesn't matter. I hope they're good. Hope everything is amicable, and I hope they're making millions of dollars off of Frank's legacy because they deserve it. I mean, tough times, man.
It's a huge. It's huge. And hey, Sharon Wilddollar, great to see you. Marty's party. Yeah, we're hanging out with Marty5150.
Hey,
having a great time. I have to get something else to drink really quickly. If you're okay, do you want to talk about that guitar real quick?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about this guitar a little bit. I did a video on this recently. For those of you that haven't seen my channel, but this during right before COVID, I started to make guitars and try to learn how to paint guitars and wire better, just as a hobby. And I bought a Chinese 5150 kit online on eBay for like $200, right? And I decided I painted it brown first. I stained it, then I painted it purple, and it looked like a grape, like Barney. I didn't like it, and so I finally decided I was like, what can I do with this 5150 guitar? So I decided to pay homage to Sammy Hagar's OU812 guitar. I love all areas of Van Halen. I love the Roth and the Sammy Hagar years, but you know, growing up with the Sammy Hagar years, I'm very fond of those years. So I made this Sammy Hagar tribute. Sammy's got a similar Kramer, similar to this. So I put an Ibanez Edge tremolo on it that somebody gave me, and it's a bolt-on neck. Clearly, it's just a 5150 kit. The back of it has the Cabo San Lucas stickers on it.
Oh, cool.
You probably can't tell, but it's got a I Can't Drive 55 neck plate. It says I Can't Drive 55.
Yeah.
It's got the 55 logo. And my friend Dion from used to be with Gibson that we talked about earlier. He's my hookup for pickups, and my favorite pickup is a Burst Bucker 2, and I like 498s also, but I put a Burst Bucker 2 in the bridge.
Awesome. Right on.
Yeah. So
that's kind of a tribute to the 0812 Kramer guitar, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's totally is. And you know, Dion got me inspired to make guitars. I thought, you know, I could do that. It can't be that hard. And if you're a guitar player, you need to know how to do certain things. Like, you don't need to, but I recommend
like
you learn. Well, you got to know how to play. You got to learn how to tune, right? And be really critical about tone, but things I haven't mastered yet.
If you're going to be a guitar player, you really need to learn how to do this.
Right. You know, the joke, the old joke is how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb, right? And the answer is 10, 1 to do it, and 9 to say they could do it better than the other guy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So,
or just like the drummer.
But I started putting guitars together, and each one of my guitars has a number on the back of the headstock, and this one says number 15. It was like I made about 15 guitars at this time. I've probably made about 24, 25. And
You have
but
15 812s?
no. I've made no, dude. I make Strats, and I love Telecasters. I love Tellies, and I dig Strats, but I would wind up selling them for cost. If I built one for if it cost me $240 after paint and lacquer and parts, I would just sell it for that, and I gained the experience of doing it, and at least it wasn't costing me anything. And so I mean, I get my money back out of them. So I've kept maybe 4 or 5 of the ones that I've made. I kept this one, obviously. I don't have any of them around me right now that I've made. I've got a diver down guitar, a Super Strat that I made. It's got the diver down logo. I thought I was being fancy and like unique. Then I found out Kramer actually has a diver down. So I'm probably going to strip the paint off of that one.
Wait, did you make that before you saw that they were before they were making it?
Yeah,
really,
100%. Yeah, I had a fender neck with a locking nut on it, and that neck, the neck really didn't feel right on that body of that guitar. It wasn't cut right, so I wound up using that neck on I bought a Photo Flame Strat body. They used to make Photo Flame Strats in the 80s,
right?
Where they were fake flames, but they were nice Japanese.
They looked really nice. Yeah.
And I bought me a red Photo Flame body, and it came with a Floyd Rose. I found that online cheap, and so I wound up putting that fender neck from my diver down guitar back on that Photo Flame, because that Photo Flame Strat would have had a locking nut fender neck. So now I'm in the market to buy me a banana. Not a banana, like a hockey stick or banana headstock for my diver down. But I think I'm gonna redo the paint. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I've got so many Van Halen guitars. I just want to do something normal. I think
you should do it reverse. Paint it white with a red stripe down the middle.
Yeah, right. So it's sitting in my closet without a neck. It's got the pickups in it. It's got the Floyd. It's got a Sterling. I think it's got a Sterling tremolo on it. I'm not one of those kind of guitar people that I'm like, it's got to be, I mean, not to be like Eddie or say I'm like Eddie, but I mean, Eddie was a man of like, make it work. Like he was MacGyver on guitar. And I think he found a lot of his secrets due to like doing stuff wrong or just luck. And then saying that worked. And then
destroying. He destroyed a lot of great, vintage guitar stuff that would be worth mega money today. He destroyed back in the day just by trial and error, just figuring out how stuff worked.
Right. So, and nowadays you can buy, not so much anymore with like the supply chain issues and stuff, but stuff's still pretty cheap, man. So, I mean, you can buy stuff and make mistakes and it won't kill you financially. So the risk factor isn't there anymore. So, I mean, if you can get a good deal on some parts, and if you feel like learning and doing something, I mean, it's a good knowledge to have, especially if you just learn how to, if you just learn how to wire your input jack properly or your ground wire. I mean, how many times have guitar players been like, oh, my guitar's making this buzz, and then you take it in the shop and they're like, 2 days later you get it back, it's $80 or $90, and they just it took more time for the soldering gun to heat up than it did for them to fix it, man.
They just soldered a wire back on and laughed.
Yeah, they opened it up and saw that there was like a wire sticking off the pot. It's like, learn how to do that stuff.
The tech was like this while you were walking away.
Right. But I mean, they got to make a living, and their knowledge is they're worth their money that you pay for them. If a good tech is worth the money, but I'm like, heck, if I can save $100 on a repair, that's I just bought a Squier Strat for $89, man. It pays for my next Squier Strat I find at a pawn shop, and versus paying somebody $100 to resolder something. So it's every penny counts. Plus you learn something, you learn a skill. Dude, I did a video called the Unshark. I was going to buy me an EV8 Shark, but they're too much money. I think they're ugly, but I bought this I bought a kit on Amazon. You can buy these kits for $179, and it's not for a beginner. You got to glue the neck. You got to have a C-clamp and some wood glue, and you got to know what you're doing. But it comes routed out for the tune-o-matic bridge, or not routed, but drilled out for the posts.
Mm-hmm.
And all the holes are there. So you don't have to do any measuring and drill the bodies and stuff. But I wanted to make a shark guitar, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to cut the chunk out of it. And this is my unshark. And this was fun. It's pretty close to what the paint scheme is on that shark. Although I had to guess, this section's gone.
Down there, yeah.
Right. So now it exists again. And, the back of the neck is accurate and the headstock. And, you got to look at those pictures. Now, it's not like a burgundy color, but it's got metallic silver on it. And, boy, it was a lot of fun, and I bought some fairly affordable Alnico humbuckers for it. And so, I mean, it's cool. I did a video on this, and I did my Running with the Devil lesson on this guitar. It's not perfect. I mean, when you make a guitar, it's kind of like you go back to it, and then you're like, I got to adjust the truss rod again. I gotta fool with the action. And finally, like 6 months later, they kind of settle in a little bit.
and these guitars need time to settle.
Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of Van Halen related, but that's my unshark.
Oh, that's totally Van Halen
guitar. And it still smells like lacquer. I finished this thing a couple months ago, and it's but I'm proud of it. I'm gonna gig with this at some point when it decides to finally behave itself. In my Running with the Devil lesson, I go to hit that high bend in the solo, and it frets out. It totally sucks. And what people don't know about that video is the sixth fret on this thing was high on the high E string. It was too high. And so when I was playing the fifth and the sixth fret, it was the same note, right? I hate that. So I was filing down that sixth fret really like a banshee. I was trying to get it ready I wanted to do this, record that video with this guitar, and I finally got it right. I'm like, I fixed it. So then I didn't check the rest of the guitar, and then I went for that solo piece at the end, and I'm like, now I got an issue on the upper fret, so I gotta raise the bridge and adjust the truss rod. It's like you adjust it here and you adjust it here, and you do this little dance, right? And you finally get it right, and then you come back a month later, and it's like, crap.
And
it's like,
and the comments are all like, "You're playing the same note twice," or whatever.
On my video, I'm playing the same note twice.
Well, because it frets out.
Oh yeah, it sucks, man. And I do all my videos live, man. I don't I practice the stuff a little bit. Like, I know how to play these songs, and I go over it in my head, and I make sure I got it right. I don't want to come off like crap. Even though I mean, I don't want to be embarrassingly bad, but I think I'm going for I'm just sitting here with you as a guitar player. I mean, we're human, right? And I'm going to mess a few things up, but I'm going to show you.
I looked.
Yeah, I'm going to show you, what works for me. And I was pretty embarrassed when I got to that point. And I don't do 2 takes on a lesson. The only time I've done 2 takes was when I realized I hadn't hit record in Pro Tools. I wasn't recording audio. I was like, damn it.
No.
Right. And so you get what you get on those, right? And then I go back and I load them in my laptop, and I edit the stuff down, and I go, it's good enough. It's organic, man. It's we all experience these things. And I guess that's what I'm trying to go for is, be yourself, and it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, I'm not trying to be perfect with it. I'm just trying to be good. I want to be good and have integrity with it and help people, but I'm not trying to impress anybody and go, hey man, check me out. I mean, I'm so over that now. That years past those days, thank God. But because there's always somebody better than you. There's a lot of people, and then there's always someone better than those people, and there's always someone that can play faster than that guy, and you never stop learning. And if that's your goal in life, then I got bad news for you, man. it's going to be lonely and depressing.
That's the best. That's a great piece of advice. Is never stop learning. No matter what it is, no matter what you're
True.
doing, there's always
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And listen to different types of music and stretch and try to accept stuff. As we get older, we grow fond. We're fond of the music we grew up with. Clearly, we grew up with Van Halen, and we're coming of age with Van Halen, and no one's going to tell us different. Those were the best times, and I'm confident they were the best times. But you know what? Go listen to Greta Van Fleet's new album. Honestly, go listen to it, and don't listen to people tell you they're Led Zeppelin copies. Listen to those dudes. That album is awesome. They're great. And open yourself up to it, man, and put your ego aside. Check out Billie Eilish stuff. Listen to a Lady Gaga record.
Well,
there's
a reason.
You will learn a lot.
There's a reason Greta Van Fleet, Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga. Actually, a friend of mine was in one of her music videos. Actually, my friend's band. There's that song called "Just Dance" or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like a party, and if you pause at a certain point, a couple of times in the video, you'll see a few friends of mine like sitting on the couch.
I want to audition for her band. If you're out there, Lady Gaga, I want to play in your band. That would be so fun, man. I'd love to do a pop show like that. It'd be so different. But yeah, that's a cool story, dude. But you were saying, you gotta.
There's a reason, like
grow.
Lady Gaga, Greta Van Fleet, and people do give them a lot of crap. I've actually never heard them, so I'm gonna have to check them out. But there's a reason why bands like that get to that level. They're not stupid, and the stuff.
Right.
You can like whatever you like. If you don't like something else, and it's successful, maybe give it a chance, because at least learn from it. You can like I just said, you can always learn from something.
Growth is good, and trying to open yourself up to new things is good. But music is a lot like food. You can an analogy I use a lot is you can make the best spaghetti in the world, but if you serve it to someone who hates spaghetti, they're not going to like it, and that's okay. You still make great spaghetti. It's just not for that person. But if you've never had spaghetti before in your life, and you're not going to listen to or eat it because it's red, or you've heard that it's spicy, judge for yourself and eat it. And then you can objectively say, I don't like it. Or you try it again. Try someone else's spaghetti. Grow with it. And I know it's kind of a dumb analogy. It's like I'm talking about food. But
we talk food all the time on these shows.
But music is subjective like food. I mean, everyone's tastes are different. And I'm the kind of person, though, where I can't listen to too much at one time. It takes me forever to digest an album. I can't go out and get I listen to a lot of stuff. I have really weird tastes. I like Arch Enemy. I think Jeff Loomis is a great guitar player. I like some of the screamo metal, but I'm not going to go out and buy the new Arch Enemy album when it comes out in a couple months. And that same week, I'm not going to go out and buy another album that came out and another album. I've got to sit and devote time and listen to that. And I won't go back and write Arch Enemy songs. I can't. That's not my thing, right? Mm-hmm. But it inspires me. I look at their videos and I look at their lyrics and I look at the clothes they're wearing on stage and the places they're playing, and that inspires me to go back and write my own thing. And I think Eddie was a lot like that. I think a lot of people give Van Halen grief. They're like, Dave left and Sammy joined and they changed and blah blah blah. It's like, nah, man. Eddie was like a teenager when he wrote Running with the Devil, and he became a multi-millionaire and has seen and done things none of us will ever get to do probably in our life to that level, most of us. And you're going to change. Think about the man you are now versus the man you were graduating high school. You are completely different, but in many ways you're still the same. And as an artist, we're going to write and create music differently. It will still have remnants of our past, but if you haven't grown by the time you're in your mid-30s as a musician and you're still playing the same stuff, for one, you're going to get left in the dust by your record label because you have to grow with the times and you have to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But you also would go crazy if you just did the same thing over and over. And Eddie would not let himself do that. He had to reinvent. I don't think Eddie wrote songs like Spanish Fly or Cathedral, or the intro to Mean Street, or that keyboard part in Mine All Mine on OU 812. I don't think he came up with that stuff just to go, man, this is going to blow their mind. He would sit down and go, man, I came up with this idea. He grew into that. And it's hard for fans to accept because when you get an album that is immortalized, you enter into immortality, as Steve Vai says. When you hit the red light, when the green light's on, red light's on, you enter into immortality. We're entering into immortality right now. This will be around forever.
There's a red light right there.
Yeah. And you cut that record, good or bad, it's there forever. And if it's awesome, if it's freaking killer, man, like if it goes diamond, right? That's crazy. And you tour that record for 2 years, man. And you're on every guitar magazine. And someone's like, man, I was 17 when I heard that record. And that's when I had my first girlfriend. And I drove for the first time. And I went in the Marines, or I did whatever. That was my pivotal moment in life. And then 4 years later, you put out this record and you're playing something that you've been inspired by. That person's like got that time stamp. It's like a time capsule. And back in those days, you couldn't follow everything they did because internet wasn't around. Plus, Van Halen held their cards close. They still do. They still hold their cards close, even with Eddie gone. For a good reason. But they always wanted you to be surprised when they came out. Was their hair going to be cut? Was Eddie going to be playing a different guitar? What's the new trick? But Eddie allowed it to develop organically and naturally. And it was hard for fans to accept because a lot of times time would lapse between records towards the end of their career. They were cranking stuff out like sausage grinders, man. In the first 4 or 5 albums, it was boom, boom, boom. That was like every 2.5 years.
No, every year.
Yeah, man. And
78, 79, 80, 81, 82.
Yeah, right. But Eddie was older. He would need to take time off. He would take more time recording, developing, and he'd come out with something. And I think, some artists intentionally alienate their fan base just to be different. I'm going to get some hate, but I think Prince did that. I think Prince alienated his fan base and was like, I'm going to do what I want to do, which was fine. It was good, but only his hardcore base, maybe I should use a different artist, but my point is I don't think Eddie ever alienated the true fan base. He just did stuff differently. He didn't just come out with something just to be like, screw y'all. And I'm going to play kazoo. And I think there's some kind of quote Eddie did once where he said, I come out playing bazoo, a bassoon and, a cello or something for the next record if I wanted to. And if that's what I feel like doing, or, but it.
Well, because he did play those.
Yeah.
But he did what he wanted. He always did what he wanted, and that's why, people would always say, hey, Eddie, you should do a solo record. He's like, what's the point? Every Van Halen record is a solo record because I do everything anyway. Right.
He planted that seed and cultivated it, and his band, Al was there along for the ride, and Al was like the fertilizer. and Michael Anthony had the best job in the world, man. I mean, think about it. Mikey had such a good job, but he just had to strap a saddle on the Lightning, man, and just go with it. And it's that's how I feel about the whole Van Halen catalog up through Balance, at least. I don't want to bag on Van Halen 3, but Eddie was going through stuff, man, and it's evident in that record. It's a very hurt and damaged era, very sad, and that's why it took so long for A Different Kind of Truth to come out, because he had to exercise those demons and find that inspiration again and that passion. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said earlier, we have to thank Wolfgang for it, because I've got 2 sons, and my sons inspire me to do things, and they inspire me to do what I'm doing on this YouTube channel. They're some of my biggest fans, and I don't want to let them down. They still believe in me, and so I'm grateful for what we got, as much as we did towards the end. I mean, they weren't the most prolific band, but at least we got 3 tours out of it and a final record, and hopefully some unreleased stuff someday, right? They got to get on it, man. We're not getting any younger. I mean, Wolfgang can't wait 20 years. I'll be like false teeth and wearing, adult diapers. I'll be like, I can't listen. I can't hear it. Turn it down. My hearing aids are hurting my ear.
They'll have to, anything they put out in the future, they'll have to really, really crank, just so that the original fans can still hear the stuff, because they'll be.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you ever think about like 50 years from now, 60 years? I mean, think about like music
with flying cars. The future,
when Teslas are flying,
when Tesla's on tour again.
They probably are. Somewhere tonight they're playing someplace in Mississippi. I like Tesla. But dude, think about it. I mean, I wonder, we put so much relevance in pop culture and things that we love. These Van Halen guitars probably aren't going to be worth crap in like 80 years. People will be like, what? I mean, look at the dude that just bought all those David Gilmour guitars, the guy that owns like the Indianapolis Colts or whatever. I mean, that's his hero, and that's great. They bought all that stuff, but
what's that dude's name? Yeah, the guy that got the Nirvana guitar, right? That guy?
I think he got that too, but he got like half of Gilmour's guitars and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think in 50, 60, 70 years, man, that stuff's going to be like, I don't think it's going to be worth anything. We're all going to be dead, man. Anybody that's, who's going to carry the torch? I mean, that's just really bleak. Like we got into like, this is like sad, but I mean, I just like I'm enjoying this stuff while I'm alive. And I guess that coming back to the Van Halen catalog, like, damn it, put it out now, man, because we're the people that care about it. And that means a lot to us.
No, I think 50, 60 years from now really isn't that far away. Think about 50 or 60 years ago.
I know. Hey, dude, think about it this way, man. When you were in the 80s, right? Okay. In the mid 80s, I was barely in my teens. And I used to think, my dad was a World War II vet. Okay. He was late 40s when I was born. So it's possible, but I grew up with him talking to me about being a World War II veteran. And I would think back to World War II. I was like, man, that was so long ago. And, World War II ended in 1945. So 85, that was 40 years. Our era of Van Halen was almost as long as World War II was away from me. When I was a teenager, I mean, that's how my brain thinks. It's like, that was like nowadays, our kids, like people growing up, they're like, to them, that was like World War II. I mean, that was like that long ago, coming up on that. And, but with technology and internet and cameras and stuff, things don't look as old. It looks more current than it is. I mean, if you look at World War II footage and it's all black and white, and
there's this channel I follow on TikTok where all they upload is is video from like the 1900s, 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like amazing. Like it's just incredible video from so far, so
That's
long
cool.
ago.
That's
Stuff you
cool.
would never, it's insane.
That's cool because when you think back at those times, I think everything was black and white and grainy. Like people walked around like, but they didn't. They looked just like
People
we
were
do
sped
now.
up.
Like wow, they actually wore clothes that were red and blue, and they had green shirts. I thought everything was like everyone wore tuxedos.
Everybody rode horses.
Right. Had the lawnmowers that you pushed and the things spun around and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be putting that Van Halen stuff out. They got to be starting to think about it soon because time goes by a little fast. I mean, here we are now in 2022, and gosh, I mean, look at some of the old metal bands and rock bands that are on their last tours, and some of them still look really good. It gives me hope as a musician. Whenever I see the Stones, I'm like, yes, that means I got another 40 years in me. You know, I think about it like that. Like if they can do that, I could. Or if I look at Sammy Hagar, for God's sake, Sammy's going to be 74 or 75 in October. I mean, I saw a dude who was 72 in the store the other day buying like lottery tickets and cigarettes. And this guy looked like he was talking about his age. And I was like, man, Sammy Hagar is 3 years older than that guy. And this guy, I'm not putting him down, but this guy was like old. Like, I mean.
Well, you said he was buying cigarettes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still.
That'll age you.
Yeah. And taking care of himself, but that's
Sammy
old.
Hagar never smoked. Sammy Hagar he grew up, I guess his dad was a boxer, I guess. So he always worked out. We were talking about working out.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's a different
did that.
analogy. Yeah. Sammy's taking care of himself. I mean, he's been a drinker, but he's taking care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my point is, you know, I mean, he's an old guy, you know, and he's getting up there. It's hard to, but it gives me hope. I think that's good. I think, you know, I want to be doing this 25 years from now, man. I want to be that guy. I don't want it to end. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But going back to, you were talking about Van Halen guitars, you know, being worth anything like 50 or 60 years from now. The thing is, like I was saying, 50 or 60 years ago really wasn't that long ago. So 50 or 60 years in the future really isn't that far off.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. And the technology is going to be incredible. Everybody's going to be bionic, you know, everybody's going to be robotic or whatever.
Yeah.
But the Van Halen striped guitar, everybody's going to know that guitar because of Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
They'll know that stuff. And so people will collect, the future generations will hoard. They're already hoarding all that stuff now, actually. It's impossible to get a Kramer guitar anymore.
And, you know, as time goes by, we get more digital and more less interactive and less tangible items. So, I mean, to your point, I think, you know, a physical product like that.
NFT.
And that, God, don't get me started on that stuff. But yeah, it's like for someone to say, dude, I've actually got this Van Halen guitar. And his friend's like, I got the NFT of the EVH Frankie. It's like, dude, check this out. And they, you know,
this NFT has a monkey's face on it. This is worth $1 billion.
Oh my goodness. I think about some of that stuff and I'm like, I don't know, man. What
we were talking about that stuff. I do Twitch shows as well. And I play GTA. I'm flying around in a DeLorean on GTA and we had a guy in there just the other night. Actually, are you in here? I'm not going to name your name. He might actually be in the chat here. We were actually talking about all that, the NFT stuff and like all that stuff. Yeah. He was explaining everything, like how that works and everything. Anyway, no, these, you know, there's MP3s, everything is in thin air, you know, you can own, like, look at this. Isn't this amazing? You know, you
Yeah.
got to put up special glasses to see what I'm holding.
Right.
But no, the guitars, the Van Halen is only going to get bigger, and just there's going to be more of a legend.
Right.
Just imagine we lived through something now that's a legend.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
in 50 years, 60 years, people are going to be like, oh, I can't believe. There's that meme. We see that meme all the time on Facebook. You know, the world is something trillion years old. And just imagine how blessed we are that we actually lived during the time of Van Halen.
Yeah. We won the
Or
Van Halen
of
lottery, man.
this type of this type of stuff.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you look at stuff from like, the war era, the World War II eras and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff is really collectible, and people look at that now like it's ancient Egyptian treasure. It's like so old, and in 100 years, 50, 60 years from now, Van Halen will have been popular 100 years ago, and people will be like, I'm with you, man. I'm down with it. You're making me feel better. So be like, man, it's like King Tut's too, man. I just opened this hard shell case, and there's a Ernie Ball music, man, a purple one that's never seen daylight.
It's amazing that people they can't believe how amazing those things are. You know, to me, it's just another guitar. I got one brand new in '92. To me, it's always just been what it is. But there's people now that are like, that's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. I baby mine. Mine are hanging up, and I don't even have, like, I was going to bring them on the show, but I'm like, no, I didn't even want them to like mingle in this stand with this stuff. Like I'll be moving something, I'll be like, oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm not going to have that happen on a live stream where someone's like, oh dude, so
that's, actually let's look at the chat here. I'm seeing some different, let's see. Doug, hey Doug, do you know Doug Steele? He's another longtime YouTuber.
Oh yeah, yes.
He's asking, what's your favorite Van Halen era?
It changes. Today, my favorite Van Halen era is Fair Warning era, 1981, 80. I've really been digging deep into Fair Warning again. I think that's his best guitar work. I think that's their best record, probably, from a guitar player's perspective. From, I guess, from a emotional level, the era I like the best is probably the Sammy years, just because I grew up as a teenager. As humans, we associate our youth with certain things, and music and youth.
Our first show.
Yeah, I was too young. I was too young to be to understand the early stuff, even though it's like the first 6 Van Halen records, I think, are on par with the first 6 Led Zeppelin records. There's nothing better. You can't get better than you cannot get better than the first 6 Van Halen records. Like you can't. That's period. But my favorite era is the Sammy Hagar era because I grew up with Sammy, and I high five Sammy at shows, and it was just something magical about seeing Eddie play Ernie Ball music bands front row, and being early 20s, man, barely old enough to drink, and sneaking, not even being old enough to drink, and being right here, right now, and having a beer, and Right Now comes on, and I love that. I think that's a great era, but that's because I experienced it. I lived through it. if I was 5 or 6 years older and I was like, I'd gone to see the 84, I'd be like, oh man, the 1984 tour is nothing better than that. But watching it on some grainy videos with poor audio quality doesn't hold up to that. That's a long answer, man. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about what your first, whatever you first got into. That's usually the what you consider the best.
Yeah. Yep. It's why a lot of guys and gals who are, like 60, 58, 60 years old, you ask them about what they like, and it's David Lee Roth years. And or they're like, I love Judas Priest, I love Iron Maiden, I love and Kiss, like all the super diehard Kiss fans in my life. My friends are the ones that are like, I mean, there's diehard Kiss fans of all ages. I'm stereotyping now, but the people I know that are like bleed Kiss blood are like 56 and on. It's because that they were teenagers when
Ace was their first guitar hero.
When Ace was still in the band, right? And I love Ace Frehley. I love Ace, man. I like Kiss. I've seen Ace Frehley probably 10 times live. I've seen him with Kiss. I saw him on the reunion tours. I never saw him, but Kiss was my first love as a band, as a rock band. And then I discovered the Beatles, but it's kind of weird how I discovered Kiss first, but that's because they played Kiss the Phantom on TV. And Gene Simmons scared me to death, man. I was like, holy crap, Gene Simmons. But then I was like, he's so cool. I love the blood. I love the spitting the blood, man. And then I got Ace Frehley's solo record. This is going to sound weird, but I was like, man, Ace looks cool, man. Ace is kind of pretty. He's kind of pretty, man. He's a pretty guy, but he's cool. But I had like mixed feelings. I mean, I had a bromance going on. I was like, is he a girl? I think Ace Frehley's a girl. People actually thought that, I think, for a while in the late 70s. And but no one looked cooler than Ace playing that Les Paul. I love Les Pauls, man. I play Les Pauls because of Jimmy Page and Ace Frehley. I got more Les Pauls than anything. I mean, they're my favorite guitar. We talked about that the other day. You're a Fender guy, and everyone's like, what's his name? Ben Fricker or whatever, the dude that slams Gibson every day. Ben, he'd probably, if he was in here, he'd be like, Gibson sucks, but I'm a Nashville guy, man. I support Gibson, man. But
that's cool.
But Ace is, and I love Fenders. My Fenders, I love them, but Ace is the place for the helpful hardware. And he was a great guitar player. So back to Van Halen. I guess we could segue back to some Van Halen stuff. I don't believe those stories about Eddie's, like Gene saying Eddie was going to join Kiss. I mean, I think Eddie was like bummed out and was like, hey, you need me to join Kiss, and then Gene is going to be like, oh, Eddie Van Halen said he was going to join Kiss. It's like, no, that would never work.
He probably just wanted to jam with them,
Yeah, I think Dave was on his way out, and Eddie was probably feeling like, now what? This is the end of the line. What am I going to do? Because Dave was very instrumental. I mean, Dave was the mouthpiece for the band. He designed the T-shirts and the promos, and
he was the
face. Stage.
The lead singer is always the face of the group.
Yeah, Van Halen probably never would have been Van Halen without David Lee Roth. Really, I mean, they probably would have been known, and Eddie was a great guitar player, but he's what brought them. He brought the show, and even though Ted Templeman hated him, but in the beginning. But I mean, it was the perfect storm. MTV came out, and we got David Lee Roth in your face, and all those stars that were created by MTV, all of our icons, all of our 80s heroes, MTV created them because cable television was not around. And all of a sudden, people in Topeka, Kansas knew what Joan Jett looked like. And Joan Jett went from selling 50 seats to 5,000 in 1 week because MTV, and she was cute.
You could see the radio.
Right.
You could actually
Right.
watch.
Yeah. Yep.
You could actually watch you could literally see the music.
True. It's true. And Van Halen were good looking dudes, and they had that charisma, and Dave knew exactly what to do it with them with MTV. So, and that's kind of what killed metal. I mean, it kind of went to like it went insane, and then you finally had bands like what's that band's name that Michelangelo Badio was in? What's that? I can't think of their name now. Someone in the chat tell me what was.
I don't even know.
They sang Freight Train.
I saw him at NAMM though. I see him at NAMM all the time.
He's a sweet guy, man. He's a great player, but you had bands like that finally putting out videos, and people were like, "Nope, we're done with this."
Nitro.
Nitro, is it?
Doug,
right.
Still, thank you, man.
Yeah, Nitro. It's like metal went from like this cool phase to like Nitro, and it's like at that point we were all ready for a change.
Change is good. Let me just say that, you guys.
Change will do you good. At least that's what Sheryl Crow says.
Spare change.
If you got any change, take a quarter and screw it on your guitar and put it under your Floyd Rose, and you will sound just like Edward Van Halen. Maybe.
That is one of the secrets.
Yep.
So I don't know how you're doing. Yeah, normally these are like a couple hours. We're at a couple hours. There's so much stuff that we haven't even. There's so much stuff we talked about the other day that we haven't even discussed here. But I don't know.
I know.
If you want to keep going, we can keep going. But I know you said you got to be somewhere.
Well, no, I'm going on a trip tomorrow. But I'm good, man. I'm good for now. I mean, if you're good, we can go a little while longer. I mean,
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah. Should we keep going in the chat? Actually,
are we boring you guys to death yet? I guess
see.
it'll always be there for podcasts later, right?
Oh,
I was trying to think about what was some of the stuff we talked about Sunday. What were you gonna bring up?
I'll tell you because I remember. Here, let me.
I told my Zeke Clark story, and I love All Access. I could talk about my my piece of Edward Van Halen gear. I don't know if I should or not.
Anything you want to talk about is all good. Let me just show this real quick. This was texted to me. I told you guys earlier how these friends of mine are in this Lady Gaga video. It's called I think Just Dance. I think
that's old school.
If you pause the video at 2 minutes 30 seconds, you'll see my friend's band right here. Those are my friends. They're a band. They're called Flipside. And they actually had a song called Someday. That was actually, I think it was like the theme for the Olympics one year. I mean,
cool.
Yeah. But that's my buddy Dave Lopez down on the bottom left there. He's a very good friend of mine. He actually introduced me to Jason Becker. So I know Jason and Jason's family because of Dave.
Nice.
Anyway, that's Flipside. They're still around. But the blonde singer isn't with them anymore. You guys might remember her from MySpace. She was like one of the big MySpacers back in the day.
She was in my top 10 friends
years ago. Your top friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wouldn't talk to me, so I put her in the top 20, and she left.
What was her name? It was what was it? I forget. But anyway, the label, they were on the same label as Lady Gaga. That's why they're in the video. And the label wanted them to have them be like Black Eyed Peas. So they grabbed her from MySpace and put her in the band. The singer. This is true. What? Robot Master Switch? Ask Marty if he lives in Nashville. Is he familiar with Jack Pearson or any of those session guys?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville. Yeah, I'm familiar with Jack Pearson. I hear a lot of names, and there's a lot of session guys around. The session work in Nashville is, it's not like it used to be. I moved here in the early '90s, and you legitimately could, you could make a living doing sessions, even if you weren't famous or like a go-to guy, because you could join the musicians union and they would list your name. You know, it was $50 a song in the '90s. You could do like 6 or 7 songs a week and make enough money to pay rent. And you get calls from producers. There used to be studios everywhere. You drive down 14th, 15th, 16th Avenue, and it's now all zone commercial. And there's ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, you know, RCA. The big ones are down there. But there used to be houses, just people's homes that had reel-to-reel studios, and they would book sessions constantly. You'd see advertisements in, you know, the newspaper. I'll produce your record for $50 a song or whatever, and those guys would call you. I'd get calls and referral work, and you could make money. And a lot of people don't know that Nashville, especially back in those days, it's kind of like if you've ever heard of the Wrecking Crew from these did all those records in the 60s and 70s and part of the 80s, that they were like every song you've ever heard produced by Phil Spector and every Monkees record and it's all a Wrecking Crew. Well, Nashville has its own circle of musicians that cut all the records, all the big ones. And here's a little secret about Nashville is they find the really pretty women that sing good, and they find the really nice looking dudes that sing good, and they got an agent, and they go to the publishers and they say, what do you got? Well, you know, we're developing this image for this artist, and the publishers give them all these songs, and they'll cut about 60 tunes, and they put your song on hold if you're a songwriter. When they put your song on hold, that means no one else can cut it. So you may wait 3 years while your song's on hold. No one else can cut it, and you're hoping and praying your song gets cut on a record. And if it goes number 1 or whatever, if it gets cut, you get royalties based on that. If you're a songwriter, there's staff writers that work in Nashville. You know, they make $90,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, whatever. And they got to have 6 songs published in a year, but they write about 50 songs, but they got to get one good enough song published a year. And those publishers pitch those songs to those labels that are trying to develop those artists. And then they go, all right, we're cutting this record. And guess what the big labels are going to do? They're going to call in, you know, Dan Huff and Brent Mason and, you know, Jack Pearson, all your guys, man, your big guys. Because those dudes have the licks. They're going to come in and, you know, they're going to charge you a couple grand, but they're going to come up with that lick, you know. Everybody's heard, you know, those types of licks, man.
Look at that. Those licks on a Frankenstein.
You know, you got those guys that can come in and they can flat pick the hell out of that stuff. And if you think you're good, and you may be good, those dudes will smoke you like Jack Butler. They're insane. And those guys get the calls and they crank those records out like cookie cutters. Boom. And you know, a lot of that stuff shut down because now records don't sell. But the big labels still crank out the big artists, but they want hits. And that's why bro country exists. And that's why, you know, Nashville's changed so much because, well, I mean, it's a new era. There's youth out there that go for different things. And they're chasing that constant image of what Nashville is supposed to look like to you on TV. And it really doesn't look that way. Part of it does. I mean, Nashville's evolved a lot. It's a great place. but that's how the music industry works for the big dogs in Nashville. And there's no way I would ever come close to hanging with any of those country cats. I can go on tour. I go on tour and play with those people and cut that stuff, but I'm not the guy that you're gonna call in and say, I'll give you $3,000 to play this on this track. And you go in there and you bring, 6 custom shop Telecasters, and you're playing through a Helix, and you got a Dumble, and you got a whatever in the back of your car. And you're like, what do you want? And they're like, we think we're going to go with a Dumble on this in that 57 Telecaster Esquire. Cool. All right. And then boom, they just tear it. And then that guy just goes, whatever. He moves on. Those guys are like, whatever. They go on the next session. And then like 2 years later, like, hey, I got that solo. It's my solo. I'll be playing. I play at a church. I like, I'm not like some holy roller, like crazy religious, like fundamentalist Christian guy, but I'm, I play at a church, and we play rock and roll and country. And being in Nashville, I hang with a lot of cats, man. I hang, we're just normal dudes, right? And I talk to the guys, they're like, yeah, man, I cut that solo. That was me on that. I'm like, get out of here. Like, yeah, it was me. For real. Listen to this. And they just get their little piece, their little money. And I got friends that go on tour, man. I got a buddy that's on tour with a up and coming artist. They play their 7 songs. I'll leave them anonymous, but they play their 7 songs in these humongous stadiums every night, and they're opening for a major artist. And they get like 45 minutes, and they're making like scale, they're making like more than they would make if they're working at Walmart, but they're touring. Mm-hmm. And it's dependent on, will that singer stay healthy? If not, right, he's unemployed, and he needs to start looking for work when he knows that tour is coming to an end, because then he's gonna not have work. And if they like you and you're a friendly person and you're good to get along with, you'll get some more road work. If you're, you can't, they're not always going to look for, like, if you're like the killer player, but you're a jerk, they're going to be like, nope. But if you're like the good player and you're really cool, they'll be like, come on, man, let's do it. Because they know that 6 months down the road, they're not going to want to slit your throat in the middle of the night because you're just a total douchebag to them every night. You like bring misery, on the bus, and you're just a diva. And
only the lead singer can be the diva. Everybody else has to be.
Well, they're probably on a different bus anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? If anyone's ever watched the movie Hired Gun, you need to watch Hired Gun. It's a lot like it. But it's what's crazy. I found this out too, is these opening acts, labels used to like find this band and be like, I'll give you an example. In the 80s, I saw Faster Pussycat, not by choice, 6 times, because they opened for like every band, like for 2 years. They just happened to be on the opener, and I like Faster Pussycat, but they were getting pushed so hard. But the label wanted them to sell records. They were trying to promote them, right? And they probably weren't making really much, but man, now if you want to be on tour with somebody and you're a band, you have to pay. They'll be like, man, you want to open for us? It's like $40,000, because you have to purchase these tickets. Like you have to be able to sell 5,000 tickets or 2,000. So that's going to cost you for the 6 weeks you're out with us, $40,000. And then you get on that tour, and then that artist who's the singer, you're just the hired gun. That singer's management and label pays that money, hoping that, because they're opening for, Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish or whatever, you're on his tour, you're going to get...
I don't think his name's actually Hootie, though. I think it's
Derek somebody.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But everybody thinks he's Hootie.
I only reason I'm thinking about him is because I had to learn that song Wagon Wheel. I had to play a corporate gig a couple weeks ago, and they were like, we're going to play the Darius Rucker version of
there you go,
of Wagon Wheel. I'm like, all right, I got it. But Yeah, and in Nashville we played in numbers. If anyone doesn't know what a numbers system is, a numbers chart. You go into a set, and I do sessions. You go into a number session, and they'll say, "All right, we're gonna play this song. We're gonna play you the rough demo of what the songwriter sent in," and you sit there and you listen to it, and they hand you a sheet of paper, and it's got like a 1 on it, a 6, a 5 with a diamond over it, and then there'll be like a 7 with a flat 5, and you got to be like, what the heck is this stuff? And then the reason is they'll say, we're going to play this song in F, because the singer, she's a female, for instance, she sings better in F, but the songwriter wrote it in like A flat or whatever. So you got to think, all right, F's the 1, the 7 is an E flat, all right, the 4 is a B flat, a 6 minor is a D minor. You just know this stuff off the top of your head, and you just listen to that demo, and you know what vibe they're going for. So the band plays it, and you're all good musicians. So you start on that 1, 6 minor, 5, 4. That might be the groove of the song on the demo, and the producer might say, you know what, she's struggling in F, so we're going to change this key to B flat, and that's our new 1. So now you're in B flat. 7, 4, 1, 4, 1, 7, 1. You're looking at the chart, and it's it's all four beats per bar, and it's up to you to make that happen. And they know the good musicians, and if you do well and you don't cost a lot of time, you'll get called back. So I know this is a Van Halen show. I'm sorry, Johnny, but we're talking. We kind of segue to Nashville and what it's like.
No, this is cool, man.
And then you go to do it.
We talk all music on here too.
I got a friend of mine was going away out of town 2 weeks ago. I told you I had to play this corporate gig, right? And 60th wedding anniversary for a couple, and the money was good, man. I'm like, someone says, can you fill in for me? The answer is yes. And so then the singer for this band got my email, and he sent me the song lists, right? And they hand you a bunch of charts. You get to these shows, you can't be prepared with 90 songs, man, for a gig that's 3 weeks away. But if you've played a lot of cover tunes and you know your way around the instrument, you listen to this stuff, you become familiar with it, and you go through the set list, and you're like, all right, they're playing Purple Rain, I got to play that solo, right? So, you got to think in the end of Purple Rain, how does that solo go? Because you don't want to mess that up, but you can play the chart based on the chord. So you have to do your homework. And if you don't do your homework and you can't do it, you're not going to get that call again. So I was thinking about doing a YouTube video on how to read charts, Nashville numbers.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that just for fun, but I get intimidated doing that stuff because there's always like somebody else will be like, oh, there's a different way to do charts, and I just gotta like tune that stuff out. I do what I do.
Yeah.
And if you like his stuff better, go watch his stuff. But
that's when we what was that, Sunday we talked? When we talked last time, that's what I was telling you. You just got to do what you do.
Right.
You can't, and the more you do, the more YouTube stuff you do, the more you present yourself on the internet, the more you're going to get people like, "Oh, you're awesome," or you're ugly." You're going to get both. Yeah. And you can't, I mean, you can respond to all of it, but you can't let it affect you. You just have to keep doing what it is that you do.
Yeah. I mean, so I might come up with something like that, and charts can get difficult, man. I mean, if a chart gets too difficult, then you got to write a letter chart. If there's like certain jazz tunes you don't want to do a number chart for, if you're playing stuff like A flat minor 11, sharp 13 and stuff, you're not going to do numbers on that. You're going to and you're gonna have to know for certain what that that person's what key they're gonna sing it in. So, but number charts can be tricky though. I mean, it's not all 1-4-5. I saw someone put 1-4-5 in the chat, and a lot of times that's what it is. I mean, rock and roll really is 1-4-5, minor 6, minor 2, but occasionally, it's songwriters. I'm a songwriter. I guess I consider myself one. I've got a ton of original stuff out there, but I hate. There's this cliche songwriters, man. They always go for that modulation. They got to write a bridge, and I feel like they write those bridges sometimes just to impress their songwriter friends, because I feel like they have to weld the bridge together to the song, and I write a lot of charts for bands and stuff, and I think, man, why did they go up to this dominant 3 chord? Why did they feel like they had to go to a 3 here? What was wrong with just sticking to 1-4-5 and try to write a weird melody around that, and then modulate it back to the to the main dominant key again, or God forbid they modulate to a strange key. If the song is in E, for instance, right, and then it modulates down to E flat. God forbid you hit any open strings in E flat, or you know what I mean? It's and you're playing in stereo, and the sound man's got you way up high, and you're like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. Oh, yeah.
You play it twice.
Yeah, you play it with authority.
Play it again.
Yeah.
Right? Symmetry. Thank you so much, Symmetry. This is awesome.
Yeah, and you got to learn. You learn quick what major and minor pentatonics are, and how to blend those things together. You find a lot of roots rock and a lot of rock and roll in general. You'll get a chart on something that's like we'll do something in E, like then it'll go to D, then A. So you got your 1-7-4 progression there, right? And you think, all right, I'm cool. And then they say, all right, guitar's going to do a solo. So the first thing most guitar players are going to do is go. Right, you do something in pentatonic minor because that's what we go for, and it fits that chord progression. But you start to find out with certain tonalities and certain chords that you play that this D is in there, and you're in E, so you got to play that. You got to play that dominant 7. You got to have that in there, but then you listen to the melody, and the singer is doing something that's in major, though. She's hitting that G sharp a lot of times in that melody, and you're like, well, I can't just play this in a major key. So you learn how to do stuff in major, minor, like. Things like that. I'm sucking tonight, but that's how you make charts come to life, in my opinion.
Sounds awesome.
Is you have to listen to the melody, and that's the beauty of playing in a 3-piece. Like Eddie, like Van Halen were a 3-piece. Clearly, like no crap, they were a 3-piece. Well, dude, I mean, if that was what was so great about Eddie's freedom, and like with Hendrix and even Jimmy Page, a lot of those power trios is if you've got a song where the bass player is just, you don't know if that's major or minor, right? You don't until they go, all right, now we're in major. It sounds like a surf song. All right, but if you're just playing root and fifth, and that bass player is holding that down, you can do whatever you. Or you can go minor. Or you can do kind of like a Mixolydian thing and do major and minor together. You hear that a lot in Nashville, where the guys do the. That. And when you hit that dominant chord, that 7, it's so rock and roll. And that's where that whole blues shuffle stuff comes from. It's that minor, major. I can't see through my hair. So thanks for letting me
Wow.
play on that.
But that sounds great, man.
But that's how we're just talking about numbers and doing sessions and how you kind of try to stand out. Not my in-ears falling out of me, my ears. So I don't know why I did all that. I was just trying to demonstrate, what we were talking about regarding number charts and playing sessions and Nashville standing out, and you learn how we were talking earlier about, learning different styles and listening to different things. And if you eat the same food, is that Ned Templeman? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Ned Templeman. He likes he likes mice and gophers.
So do I. But I mean, so Ned, he looks great. I wish Rufus was over here. I'd introduce Rufus and Ned. So you were talking about, you have to try to listen to some new stuff, man. I'm not trying to promote my channel, but my video the other day.
Dude, today's all about promoting your channel. It's fine.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say my video I did the other day of my record collection. I mean, I know it's not the most riveting topic in the world, but I discovered I forgot I had all these Ventures records. And
what were the records? Like what were some of the Ventures?
Yeah, like
That's
dude,
cool.
the Ventures I had. I mean, Pipeline comes to mind. They had a bunch of album covers with girls on the front, like surfer looking girls, and Moss Wright guitars, and that stuff's cool, man. All that twangy stuff, and it's like some of it's kind of out of tune, some of it's really performed kind of, really white, really like, just like, it's sterile, but it's cool because it's so stocky and blocky. But I went back that night and I listened to like a bunch of Ventures stuff, and it inspired me. So I mean, you got to force yourself.
That's cool.
You got to force yourself, man. I challenge everybody out there, go through your collection of something and, put your iPhone on shuffle. I mean, how often do we do that? We almost never do. Go in your iPhone, you scroll through 4,000 things that you've added, and you just listen to a podcast. You're like, I don't want to listen to nothing. But that's me. But if I go to like all artists and just hit shuffle, I love it. I'm like, oh, it's a cool song. Danny California comes on, like, oh, cool. Chili Peppers. And the next song is, come on, and it'll be, Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
I'll hit stuff will jump onto my iPod. I didn't even know I even had stuff. I have no idea what that even was, because I would just like get albums, or like if someone let me borrow a bunch of albums, I would just rip them and throw them in my iPod or whatever.
Holly, I see you say Beach Boys. Yeah, I listen. I love Brian Wilson's writing and Beach Boys stuff. I love it, man. It's corny, some of it, but it's actually awesome, man. You listen to stuff like I Get Around. I Get Around is heavy, and that's why we're going to talk about Van Halen again. That's why Van Halen was heavy. Van Halen grew up listening to stuff that the heaviness doesn't come from 100-watt plexi, 69 plexi, and tons of distortion. It comes from it's it comes from the way it's approached, man. Like going from or when you hear the Beatles go in Helter Skelter, you know, when they hit that riff together, I mean, they're just banging out on Vox amps, and Paul McCartney's screaming his butt off, and I mean, that's heavy. Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page didn't play that distorted. Listen to the first, you know, when you hear Good Times, Bad Times, that's awesome. And it's the conviction that you play with as much as it is the gear or
it's attitude.
It's the attitude, right. And so I think that's why it's important to listen to it, go back and revisit stuff or listen to new stuff, because that attitude is what inspires us. And well, I speak for myself. I mean, I get inspired by lots of things, but you know, going to live music and seeing other people do different things, I'm like, damn, I want to play. You know, I got to do something different. And then you write a song, and that's important. I mean, otherwise you're just gonna sit on your couch and watch YouTube, which is fine. I do that all
tonight,
the time,
especially right now.
Stay on all of you. So all of you just log off and go. What are you doing? Watching YouTube? No, that's me. I spend way too much time watching YouTube. I have been watching.
Thank you for our Facebook viewers that are here.
I've been watching this Johnny Depp trial. I mean, I try to avoid it, but I mean, you can't. But there's so much of it, and I have been like, I just like get a bowl of cereal and I'll sit down and I'll watch Camille Vasquez like just tear up her cross-examination, and I'm just like, man, I'm so glad she's not yelling at me. But it's amazing to me. But I have wasted way too much time on that. I'm glad the trial ended today. I really don't care how it turns out. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's not my life. But at least I can get on with. I can get on with my life. I can get out of that cesspool. I think it was unhealthy.
I really didn't watch it. I saw the part where she said, and my dog stepped on a bee or something, and it just became a meme for a week. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I just saw that.
I can't say I watched, like, I wasn't like watching it, but I mean, there'd be like an 8-minute clip. They would say something like, oh, I'll be all right. I can watch this 8-minute clip. I mean, truthfully, I mean, here's my, I got an idea for a YouTube video I wanted to bring up to you and ask you about this, but remind me of that. But,
okay.
My favorite YouTube channels, are probably not what you would think. Like, I watch a ton of gear stuff, you know, but, which I can talk about that too, but I love watching stuff like Car Trek. I love Hoovy's Garage. I like watching Hoovy and Doug DeMuro. I like car stuff. I like watching car reviews and Hoovy's Garage and Tavares and Doug DeMuro. I can watch those guys all the time. Anytime they put out a video, I'm like instantly. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but
no, I don't. But I'll definitely check them out. And it's very similar. Like I said, I do shows on Twitch. I do shows on Twitch as well. And we were doing a show. We were playing GTA last night, and we talk. Yeah, our buddy here, Robot Master Switch. We talk while we're playing the games, and we were actually talking last night about this type of thing. And I was saying, yeah, I like watching the guitar shows as well, but I watch a lot of different stuff. Particularly for me, I'm always learning like how to do like what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I'm always watching more like tech stuff and
I watch a little bit of that too. I watch other channels to kind of see, you know, what makes them good. I like to learn from people. I like guitar. If someone like, I'll be like, show me that. Like, what did you just do right there? I got to figure that out, and I'll go search things. I agree. Johnny Depp, I don't like his guitar playing. I think Hollywood Vampires is like a joke. Like, I hate to offend anybody in the chat. I just like, I'm not into it, man. he seems like a nice man, but he is an actor. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you. I don't really care for his music, but that's okay. I mean, it's not the spaghetti I like to eat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've never heard him play the guitar, but
I was thinking about doing the YouTube series or a video on my Van Halen merchandise, like the stuff I've collected over the years. Like I don't have a ton of it. You probably have like 8 times more than me. But I was thinking about showing like tour shirts and I've got stuff like that. You remember that magazine called the VH Inside?
yes.
Yeah, I used to buy stuff from them and
Yeah.
but I guess they stopped and it's now the Van Halen store, but I bought the Van Halen truck. You remember the tractor trailer truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the Van Halen truck. That sucker was $75 back in like 2000. That's like today's money. That's like $500 for that truck. But I still have the Van Halen truck. And
it was a black truck with like a big like red Sammy era VH on the side.
It's got the Van Halen rings on the side of the truck, on the trailer. And it's, it's not huge. It's only, it's like that big. I mean, it's like a small truck, but I got the truck, man. So I was thinking about showing some of that stuff. Got a bunch
definitely,
of
definitely, man. Yeah, I was I subscribed to Van Halen Inside back then. Actually, I know the guy that ran the entire thing. We actually used to talk on
that's
the phone.
cool. Yeah,
we both lived in Nebraska back in the 90s, and I found he used to sell live videos. It was called the Eruption Video, actually. And so that's how we met, because he had an ad in the local paper, and I called him up, and we would just talk Van Halen. Like he'd be telling me, "Oh, did you know there's bootleg videos of this show?" And like he had everything there is. And then later on, he starts doing this magazine called The Inside, and then that morphed into Van Halen Store, and now he's running Van Halen News Desk.
Cool. I love those catalogs. I subscribed and got the magazine, but sometimes they wouldn't send me one. I'm like, come on, man. It was I knew it was a shoestring operation, but I was like, where's my issue? What's this one dude say in the chat? I gotta go see what?
Which one?
You gotta go to the something store in Berry Hill, some studio.
When did they say that?
Okay, it says, oh my God, Marty, you gotta go to, Holly says it. To Mike Simmons.
Mike Simmons Van Halen door in Berry Hill at Blackbird Studio.
Okay.
Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Someone told me about Mike Simmons, a friend of mine that I played with once when I was like, man, you remind me of that dude. You need to meet him. And I'm like, hook me up, man. I can't just go in and knock on the doors of some of these places. I'll be like, who are you? What's going on? Like, hey, someone told me on the Johnny Bean show. Actually, Nashville's a pretty walk-up town. They'd probably be like, oh, man, come on in, man, fellow fan.
They'd be like...
Some places would be, right. Nashville still, I mean, it's growing. It's pretty big, but it's still friendly. People are supportive. It's... So it's not a complete jungle. It's not as safe as it used to be. Nashville's got we used to never have anybody get shot in Nashville. And now people get shot every day. And our interstates are terrible. I mean, more people have moved here in the last decade than probably any place. I think we have the biggest boom of anybody. Mm-hmm. But our problem is we don't have any public transportation. And, we didn't expect to get so many people to move here so fast. So our road systems aren't quite wide enough. And I have never been
there. I'm going to stand.
So it's a nice place. But yeah, I mean, it's not fun to try to get anywhere anymore. It's no matter what time of day. It's like getting stuck on the 405 or something. Not quite that bad, but I still love it. I need to meet this guy. I hope he would love me. That's one goal I got to make this year.
Don't go downtown.
My goal my goal last year was, man, I'm gonna
Don't go to that Denny's.
My goal last year was I got to do better at YouTube. I got to try to actually make content and try to do this just for fun, and I'm doing all right with that. So I feel like I've kind of done that, but I think my goal this year needs to be, maybe I need to get out and make some more connections, like Holly suggested. And my band plays downtown. Once I play in a cover band that does metal, and we play at a place called Bowie's frequently. Bowie's is a pretty nice little place on 3rd Avenue. But it's cool because Nashville, you got constant tourism. Tourists are down there, and they love it, man. They all take pictures of you, and it's their weekend in Nashville, and they're like, "Oh, I'm here." And it's like, cool. Now go home. Take a picture. I don't know. Nashville's got this thing. It's kind of cliche, but we have this, and it's probably in other cities too, but I've never seen it like it is here. But they have these party buses that are like double-decker buses. And they're
like those guys that ride they ride a bike, and there's like a whole bar like connected.
Well,
they have those?
Yeah, they have those. They've kind of trimmed back on those a little bit because someone got killed one like a year ago or something.
Oh, no.
Yeah, somebody got run over or something by one that fell off drunk. But
oh my God.
the governor.
I'll be right back. I got to get a drink real quick.
No, you're cool. But what I was talking to y'all about is there's these bachelorette parties that come into Nashville. These bachelorettes, I love them. They're wonderful women and ladies. They're a lot of fun. But you go down in Nashville on a Friday night or a Saturday night, there's several of these double-decker buses that drive around everywhere, and they're playing country music as loud as it'll go, and they got neon lights decked out on these buses, and there's no roof on it, and every woman's got a margarita the size of a 10-gallon hat in their hand, and they're all laughing and singing, and it's fun. But it's that's kind of what it's turned into downtown for the most part, is that type of scene, when it used to be a little bit different, where you would see a lot of country artists and songwriters and people promoting their albums. And now it's kind of like you get the publicized commercial aspect of it. But that's growth. It's brought a lot of people and business to Nashville. The economy seems to be doing good here still, pretty much. But it's a little annoying when you're loading your gear out of a club at midnight and 3 party buses go by you and they're screaming like crazy. And it happens every time. I got out of this corporate gig I did the other night. I played this, I was played for a couple hours. It was a real easy gig, but I'm loading into this gig. It's just getting dark, and right before Nashville starts to get crazy when it gets dark, and right as I'm bringing my last load into this hotel, the party bus comes down the street, and I hear, dun, 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 dun. You can hear it for miles. It's Shania Twain, and 30 drunk women on the bus go, "Let's go, girls!" And I'm like, oh hell, it's on, man. It's 7:30 in Nashville on a Friday night, and the party buses are rolling.
And the guy next to you was like, "I played the solo on that."
I know, right? And little do you know, you look out in the crowd, and it's Dan Huff is like 2 feet away from you. Interesting story is I tell you I play at a local church. It's got the big production, and it's got the big screens, and it's not like huge, but it's pretty cool. And we do stuff like Switchfoot, and we've played Lady Gaga songs. We've played a Marilyn Manson song at church before. I mean, it's just, we do different things that associate with the service. It's very, we try to get younger people in, and it's a nice place. But my story is Dan Huff is a guitar player. He produced Megadeth. He was on Shania's albums. He's a big session guy. He played in the band Giant in the 80s. He's a great singer. He's a shredder. He's one of the best in Nashville. Well, his cousin Bobby Huff plays drums a lot with us, and Bobby Huff's got a really cool YouTube page, and he was one of the first guys that did, what would it sound like if we put auto-tune on David Lee Roth, or what would it sound like if we quantized Van Halen? He got a bunch of notoriety on Guitar World's magazine.
Oh, That guy?
It's Bobby Huff. Yeah, and
Bobby Huff? I think I
Bobby's a
remember
great
that.
producer, and Bobby's a great drummer. He's an awesome drummer, but he's a great producer, and he's Dan's cousin. So I need to. He's a friend of mine online, and he's got a YouTube channel, Bobby Huff.
Oh,
YouTube.
I'm already subscribed to him. I see that.
Yeah, he's a friend of
Yeah.
mine, and
Oh,
he's got
cool.
some really cool videos on what happens if you quantize Van Halen. And a lot of people don't watch the video; they comment and they spew venom. They're like, Van Halen should never be quantized. Well, if you watch the video, he's like, dude, Van Halen were so good. If you quantize them, it sounds terrible. That's why Van Halen were great. He's a huge Eddie fan, so he's not trying to perfect Van Halen.
Yeah.
Van Halen's perfect. So it's
I've
small
seen
world.
some of his stuff. Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff on Mutt Lange, and Mutt Lange was a great producer. He produced Shania. Obviously, he was married to her for a long time. He produced Bryan Adams. He produced Def Leppard. He produced AC/DC. And in fact, he produced a Lady Gaga song. We've talked a lot about Lady Gaga.
I know.
He produced You and I. A lot of people don't know that in You and I, that's the drum beat from We Will Rock You. They took the sample.
Oh, really?
Mutt Lange put We Will Rock You in there, and Brian May played the guitars on that song. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, little tidbits of information you learn when you meet someone and they tell you this and they tell you that. And that's one cool thing about being in Nashville. It's still small enough where you can meet people. Like one of the guys that goes to our church, his name is Wayne Moss. And Wayne is the guy that played the guitar on Pretty Woman. He's like this dude who's like 70, man. He looks like he should be in the Stones. He's really cool, and he's a local legend. He's done so many thousands of sessions, but he's like I always remember he's the guy that played the original Pretty Woman lick. He was that guy for Roy Orbison.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. Roy lived here in Nashville. I live 15 miles from where Johnny Cash's house was, and all the old school country stars. Trish Yearwood lives down the street from me. I never see her. She's got a gate and a hill, and
you're like this.
Yeah, and Reba McEntire's got a big horse ranch on the side of the lake up here, and the Mandrell sisters. Of course, Roy Orbison doesn't live here anymore. He's dead. But there's a lot of metal dudes that live in Nashville. A lot of metal guys live here. Vince Neil owns a horse ranch, and Tom Kiefer lives here. One of my good buddies plays lead guitar with Tom Kiefer.
Oh, wow.
I think a lot of these metal guys moved to Nashville because they took their metal money that they made, and Nashville's cheap, and they could buy a place and get set up in town and be financially stable. And my friends that tour with these metal guys, they go to like 5, 6, 7 hours in a circumference and then come back on the weekends. So they'll do like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back. And, they make money that way. These metal guys like Kiefer can sell out places and make a good living. He owns his own tour bus, so he doesn't have to rent one. That's key. And he's got his guys local, and they, like a pirate ship, man, they set sail, man. The Black Pearl sails out into the sunset, and they go play, Illinois, or they go down to Atlanta, or they hit Tampa, or whatever, and they string it back. They'll go do Mobile, and they'll do Huntsville, and they'll do Tuscaloosa, and then they come back, and it's all in a line. They go far out first and kind of hit it. They got to tour managers got to set all that stuff up, so it makes sense. You don't want to go do Miami, then hit Washington D.C., and then go play Chicago. I mean, all your money be on gas, right? And your bus break down somewhere, and you'd have a bunch of angry fans. So, yeah. But yeah, a lot of metal dudes live in Nashville. Lots of people have lived here. Stevie Winwood used to live here, and Peter Frampton, and I mean, there's new people every day I find out. Billy Sheehan lives here. I went and saw Paul Gilbert play at a little club in Nashville, and Billy Sheehan sat down next to me and ate dinner at the table next to me. And as I watched Paul Gilbert, and he brought his gig bag with his bass and got up and played the encore with Paul Gilbert. Like only in Nashville, you sit, eat wine in a turkey leg with Billy Sheehan, and then he gets up and plays bass with Paul Gilbert. Like, okay.
We had Billy Sheehan on the channel here a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
or something, and he was on with us, and he did the show from his garage. So he had his garage door open, and we got to see like the outside of his garage, and
Right.
and I think he was showing us like his basses and stuff. And
He does bass
he
clinics.
was really cool.
Billy Sheehan does bass
always,
clinics every weekend, and he recently had a pipe burst and it like burst all over his pedals and stuff.
He was drying them out. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I was just like, damn, that sucks. I mean, go figure. He's really active online. He's always putting pictures up of his food and
yeah, he's really
his cats.
Nice.
He's a super nice guy. Yeah.
I've met him. I met him at NAMM several times. Met him.
Yeah.
I told you the story about when I first met him. I asked him to get me into Van Halen, and he said he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Into backstage.
He wanted the gig. He was like, I got the gig, man. I wish I played bass. I would have auditioned for Metallica. That would have been the gig to get.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I've met Billy a few times. I'm a huge Steve Vai fan, and in Nashville, a lot of places you can wait outside and meet bands, right? But Nashville is really easy to meet musicians, and I've met Steve on a few occasions, and after shows I met Billy, and they'll hang out with you a lot, and sometimes they'll even hang out at guitar shops in Nashville or local clubs. And I took a class. I took an Alien Love Secrets class out in Anaheim. I took that with Steve Vai's first Alien Love Secrets, and met him there. And then I told you Sunday when we talked together, I won a Best in Shred contest that Sam Ash did. It's kind of hokey, the whole contest thing, but I got to play a show with Steve Vai in Knoxville. I got to open up for Vai in 2012. I got to play one song, and it was fun. His crew treated me really cool. Thomas Nordek, I think is his name. Thomas, his old tech. I got teched by Thomas. He brought me my chords and set up my amp, and it was neat. I got to go backstage, and I get to hold Steve Vai's gems, all of his gems, play them. I got to hold the guitar that was the Alien guitar on the Alter Zone, the one that lights up all weird colors. And
whoa!
I got to look through all of Steve's wardrobe, all his crazy costumes, and
got to dig through his stuff.
He's a cool dude, and it's like I didn't talk to him about music. We hung out for a couple hours after that show, and I asked him about his bees. He's an apiarist. He does beekeeping, and he's he's really into bees. He makes honey, and I don't know if he sells it. He probably just gives it to like his neighbors and stuff. But he loves bees, and he's from Long Island, and I'm from Ithaca, which is completely different than New York City. Ithaca is like hippie town, like nothing up there, nothing. There's nothing in Ithaca, and but my common ground with him was we're New Yorkers at heart. And he's like, I know people in Ithaca. It's great wine country. And I'm like, yeah, I've read that you raise bees. And so, we just started talking about like cool stuff, which was my hidden agenda. I'm like, I can't go to Steve and go, dude, and for the love of God, in that solo, and you hit that low B flat note and you shake it, what were you thinking about? And he'd be like, sucks. I've been asked this stuff. I'm not going to ask him anything guitar related. Like, how'd you come up with the gem? Why'd you do the DNA strat or the DNA Ibanez with your blood in it? I'm not going to do that with him. So
you ask him that stuff later. You warm him up with talking about beekeeping.
Yeah. It was funny because he said I told him, I said, you know what? I go, I wasn't really that nervous playing today in front of you. I go, it's really intimidating to think that you got to play in front of a Steve Vai audience. I said, but my biggest fear really is that my gear is going to fail, like my pedals or my chords. Like I come in prepared to play. I'm not going to mess up. But I go, I was a little intimidated thinking your fan base might be like, who's this putz? Who's this guy, man? We're here to see Vai. And now we got to sit through a song by this, dork. And He's like, "No, man." He goes, "Maybe back in the 80s." He goes, "But my crowd is really nice. They're really nice people and eclectic. They're very welcoming to new things." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool. I'm one of them. I agree with you." But I go, it still was a little weird. What? Did you lose me?
I'm still here. No, my internet's getting weird.
Oh, okay.
I probably looked weird for a second.
No, you didn't. You looked fine.
Okay.
But it was fun playing that show with him, and I asked him a question. I said, "Steve, man, you've got sons in their 30s. You write orchestral pieces. You do orchestras in Romania, and you did one for benefit for Disney with some children, and you've written for Zappa, and you do the Jimi Hendrix tour, and you've had 16 solo records, and you still practice, and you have your own studio, and you've got Favored Nations records, and your YouTube channel, and everything that you've got going on." And I said, what's the secret, man? How do you do it? Like, what's your advice? And he looked at me and he's like, "Man," he goes, and every answer he gave me was really deep, and it made me feel better about myself, because I could see remnants of me doing the right things in my life to get where I'm at, even though I'm not like that level. I'm not trying to sound egotistical, but it was nice to hear some commonality in my life path, to know at least I'm in the same radar map as him. But he said, he's like, "Marty," he goes, "I have about 100 projects I want to complete at this moment. I've got about 100 things, like, legitimately." He says, "Realistically, each one is going to take close to 5 years to see it through to its fruition. And I don't have 500 years left, clearly." Who does? And he said that you have to prioritize what's important to you and start something and finish it. Pick what's the most important thing at the moment. Sometimes you got to do 2 or 3 at once, but pick those items and start it and see it through to its finality. You get it done. And he said that's the key. And then keep doing that. And he says, follow your heart and your passion, and it won't steer you wrong. Do what your sole purpose is. Bring good to this world. Play to your strengths, and do what you want, and make it come to finality. And he says, when you're my age, you will look back and you will have accomplished all this stuff, and you think, wow, how did you ever do all this? And he goes, it's from decades of just being consistent in finishing products or things, whether it's, no matter what your thing is, whether it's cooking or it's bees or wine. That's your legacy. You create your legacy. And then when you're gone, that legacy is there forever. And you want to be remembered for your legacy and leave your footprint. And I thought back to moving to Nashville, and, I've done several albums and played in a lot of bands and seen a lot of places, and not everyone can be famous, 1 in a billion, right? You can't measure your success based on if you're famous or you have 1 million followers or $1 million in the bank or 80 guitars. Success is different for everybody, but I think true success is, did you do what you did well and with integrity? And did you learn something from it? And that's success. If you can look back at what you've done and you're proud of that, then you can hold your head high. You don't have to be a platinum selling album artist. Now, if you are, that's great. That is a measure of success. Platinum sales is a sign of success, and videos and, 4,000
all that
screaming fans and
stuff.
Groupies and, 8 balls of Coke everywhere. Just kidding. I mean, that may be a sign of success for somebody, not me, but so there you go. There's your esoteric Steve Vai advice that I paid a lot of money for it in the class that you got for free.
Well, I think I showed you this the other day. Did I? Maybe I didn't. Well, I only posted this a day ago, so maybe you didn't see this. But this is, I get these, for some reason I get these quotes in my email. I get them all the time. So I decided, well, instead of just deleting the emails, the ones that I like, I'll put up. And there's
Yeah, I love that. I saw that. It's
there's
awesome.
one right there.
Right.
And that's really the truth.
It is.
It's the doing.
Yeah, and if you force yourself to create and do, I'm a fan. Like my shirt. This is Ola England's dog pics. Anybody knows who Ola England is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Swedish. I'm Finnish. We're fellow. I'm kind of Scandinavian, but I support my Swedes and my Norwegians and my Finns, all that stuff. But I love Ola, and Ola is he's got a great channel. But Ola forces himself to write new riffs weekly, and that's such a great concept because you can just not create forever, and then it's like working out. Like if you stop working out and you skip, then it may turn into not working out for 6 months. It's easy to fall off the horse, right? And I love the fact that Ola writes riffs, and it's to inspire him to just to come up with ideas, and it's also geared at inspiring his viewers to do the same. So it brings positivity and creativity for everybody. He said he uploads a drum track in stereo, and you can download it for free. And he says, you send your riffs into me, and he does a riff challenge, and everyone's stuff sounds so different, and they're completely different songs. But the point is, those people sit there and they write these things. They get out of their box. They become better players. And I think developing as a guitar player, the most important thing you can do is write and play to drum machines and track yourself, record yourself and listen back and be honest and try to get better that way. You got to record, man. Recording and playing to a metronome and playing to a drum machine and recording stuff is so important. And you can go back and you can listen to it and you can go, wow, I've gotten better. You hear yourself improve. Otherwise, you don't have like a gauge unless you got some old video or something that you go back and watch. But it's a chronological collection of your talents. That's kind of, like I said earlier, it's immortalized. You can go back and listen. It's hard to go back, but it's really gratifying when you go back, like something from 2 years earlier, and you're like, wow, that was good. When you can finally say that honestly and not go, ooh, I bend that note. I might used to bend my notes sharp. But when you stop hearing yourself bending notes sharp, you're like, I got that. That's a good feeling. But you only get that through self-analysis. And I truly think recording is the answer to that. I've been recording since I was 18 on 4-track cassette. So, I mean, not that I'm like, John Frusciante and I can just like do these awesome, like killer everything licks, but it teaches you how to play, teaches you what the wrong notes are for the most part and how to avoid them, or at least, and recording is a discipline. It's very disciplined and you can't hide. You can throw a lot of reverb on it and delay, but then it sounds like mistakes with delay on them.
The mistakes just repeat.
And then then your mistake is like, did it, and it comes back, did it. You're like, I heard it once. And then you fool yourself. You think, it wasn't that bad. And then every time you listen to that recording, you know it's there and you can't unhear it. I've gone back and re-recorded stuff like from 3 years ago. I've gone back and I fixed stuff because I liked the song, and I've gone back and I had to fix a solo and edit it. I just couldn't take it. It was like the song was done. I spent a lot of time, but I had to go in, and it took me forever to try to get the same tone, but that'll drive you crazy, once it's on tape. God forbid you release. I've released CDs before and albums, and people remember that stuff if it's really good. And then if you release something else, it's not as good, or your demo, they like your demo better than they like your album that you released. Like they were the ones that supported your demo, and then you put out your album and they're like, man, the demo had so much energy. And you're just like, oh man, what do you do?
Yeah, that's always a weird thing when the demo is always better than the actual tune.
Yeah, I heard that Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill was the demo. I heard she did a whole produced album with
Glenn
whoever that
Ballard.
Glenn Ballard did it.
Glenn
Yeah,
Ballard.
and I read that maybe it was just her scratch vocals, but anyway, Jagged Little Pill is like a demo because the real thing didn't cut. Now someone will probably prove me wrong and look it up, but but I swear to you, I think that's true.
It could be. Some of it does sound. That record. That's all I listened to was that album for a time back in 1995, 96.
Yeah, anybody, all of us that were, yeah. Alanis
That record was huge.
Yeah, Alanis was like an atomic bomb in the alternative era. Mm-hmm. She was a nuclear bomb, man. She was, God, she's like Jesus. I'm now everyone's gonna burn my records like they did the Beatles. I don't mean she was Jesus, all right, everybody. I mean, she was like people would just like flock to her. They thought she was like the second coming.
Actually, no, she was. No, she actually played God in a movie.
Oh, really?
Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I didn't follow her after Uninvited. I think Uninvited's a great song, but after Uninvited, she kind of disappeared.
That wasn't the live one, was it?
Right.
Uninvited. It was Jagged Little Pill. What was the next one?
Female Cobain. Yeah, she was Female Cobain.
What was it? I had a few of them, and then Uninvited. That was the last. I had bootlegs of her live stuff, and some of those songs she did live before she recorded them. And then I would hear the recorded versions, and it wasn't kind of like what we were just saying.
Dogma is Keith. Keith was saying Dogma.
Yeah, Dogma. That's the movie.
Edwin.
She actually plays like God in the movie or something. I never saw it, but I heard about it.
I got to check that out. Alanis was. I mean, she's still active. But yeah, she was huge, man. I mean, I'm not telling anybody.
Not literally, but.
No, right. Yeah, she was kind of string beanie back in she never was thin. She had some hips on her. She had a nice shape. Now I'm sounding like a sexist. Hey, man. I thought Alanis was pretty. She had a pretty smile. She had that weird thing that she would sing. You ever notice when she sings, she puts her head to the side. She's like, like she's got that. You ever notice that she does that? It's like she controls. She's got that like curves her lip underneath.
Starts barking.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting. I liked her singing style. I mean, I thought it was attractive. But yeah, everybody's got to look up Alanis singing live now. But she twists her head and she does like this. She curls her lip over her teeth. It's like she does that mid-range yodel like thing. She was the first one to really she had that unique style. Everything was like when she sang "You Ought to Know." She had that little yodel flip thing. Then all the female singers started doing it. That was her.
I heard that. Yeah.
Was that my cat or yours?
That was your cat. My cat said something earlier.
Yeah, I thought I put him out. I have two cats. I have one named Marmot. That's Marmot. He's fuzzy and black. He's like a puffy black cat. He's like, Dad, damn it, Dad, I want to go out. I want to kill some mice.
It's like, oh, yours does that too. Mine brings them in and keeps them in, and we have to like find them. We've had 2 mice in the house the past week.
Mine bring in skinks. You know what a skink is? It's a blue lizard. I've got landscaping timbers around like pieces of my property, my driveway, and the skinks crawl up underneath there, and the cats go down in the timbers, and skinks get scared and they jump out, and then the cat brings a skink inside, and then they're like this big. They won't hurt you, but the tops of them are like dark blue, and they're super fast, and you can't catch them. And then like 2 days later, you find a skink tail because the cat ate the skink but left the tail. I don't know why they won't eat the tail. So, cat ownership. Mine will leave birds and rats or mice outside the door. Like if I go outside in the morning
Yeah.
they leave me the prize. Like, Dad, here's your mouse. I'm like, thank you. You know?
Ned will leave it in the bathroom
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Yep. Yep. I had one once that used to bring him into the bathtub because the mice couldn't get out, and it was like the mice arena of death.
Oh no.
And yeah, and you'd hear the mouse, and then I'd always try to save it, and as a kid, but the cat knew I was coming, so it would make
Drop
short.
it in the tub.
Yeah, it would kill it. Yeah. So cats are vicious animals. I mean, they're just small lions, man. That's all they
Yeah.
are. Like, if they were our size, they would kill us.
They call them lions in the living room.
Yeah. I mean, cats really hate humans. They just deal with us because we have to feed them. But if they were our size, they would kill us. I'm convinced. We would be their food. Cats only do things to annoy you to get their way. They don't like do things that are fun and happy like dogs. Well, they have a different. I mean, even though cats are nice, but they disobey to get their way, and dogs will do anything to make you happy to get their way.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
Animal chat.
we've covered the gamut.
Yeah.
We should do this again sometime, man.
Dude, definitely. Yeah, look at this. We're at 3 hours. Yeah. I mean, come back anytime, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will.
glad-
Just get with me whenever you want to do it.
you got it, man. Let me. Yeah, I start to feel bad the later it gets, the farther away the person is. Because for me, it's still. Well, for me, it's getting late. It's 8-9. If it's getting late here, it's got to be late there.
Well, I'm a night owl anyway, but it's 10:19. But yeah, I gotta jump off here in a minute. I gotta pack my bag. I'm taking one bag tomorrow, but other than that, I just gotta prep a little bit. But I'm gonna be getting up early so I can do my thing.
Right on.
So
right on. Well, hey, everybody, check out Marty, his channel. Link is right over there.
Yeah, check my channel out. Hope you all like it. Subscribe if you want. I'm not annoying. I won't like drive you crazy and like post weird stuff all the time in your feed. And if you don't like it, just ignore me. Just keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, awesome. There it is. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Just thought I'd play a little bit before we went out, since it is a Van Halen show. You know, we didn't really do any playing tonight, but that's all good. I
actually play on Sunday nights. I do all that stuff you just did. I do on Sundays.
Yeah, I've actually seen some of that. I dig it, man. I will tune in next time and drop you a like and a comment. We'll chat. But
awesome.
Yeah, let's do this again, bro. I appreciate it. I thank you for your time. Thanks for everybody sorry I didn't answer really any questions in chat. I apologize. I can't really see it too good from back here. Kind of do. But thanks for your support, and I enjoyed being here tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. And you guys, check out Marty's channel. Leave comments down below. And I know it's getting late. Just really quickly, thank you so much, channel members. Thank you for all your support. Join us tomorrow night, Saturday Night Live with your host, John BL. We've got some cool stuff we'll be talking about. And then Sunday Night String Chain Show on Sunday. And let's see, NAMM. We didn't even talk about NAMM, but NAMM show coming up. So keep it on the channel right here. I'll be live from NAMM next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe some really cool stuff Monday as well. So we'll see you guys. Thank you so much.
Have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend, and eat lots of barbecue chicken and good food, and
sounds good right now.
spend time with family, right?
Yes. Yes. All right. Rock on, everybody. Smash that thumbs up. Subscribe.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for your support.
Bye-bye. Johnny Bean TV. I'll see you guys on Twitch in a little bit. You guys got to jump over to Twitch. We have a great time over there as well. All right. Good night, everybody.